Laura, surgeon order 2, Liz Farah shining through. Lost the fear, found something new. Now I know it's really true. They are free, they're warriors strong, singing their own freedom songs. You can join them, come along, break away where you belong. Leave the cult, yeah, it's a cult. Word clear, cult, leave the cult. It's a scam, they just want your money. Save your money, you can really be free without OTs. Maybe penalties, maybe look into the atrocities. Abuses of Scientology all look right in front of you. It's all with you. Take your blinders off, save yourself. Leave the cult. They just want your money, save your money. You can really be free without OTs. Maybe look into the atrocities. Abuses of Scientology. Oh, look right in front of you. It's all in view. Take your blinders off, save yourself. Leave the calls. Oh, look right in front of you. It's all in view. Take your blinders off, save yourself. Leave the calls. Oh, no. They were trapped behind. Walking down the boulevard, and what do I see? A dude delivering a running knee. There's a guy on the ground, and now they're kicking his head. Really effing hard, he could end up dead. And it's 2 on 1, and one has a knife. No way to intervene without risking your life. Some lady is screaming, she's calling the cops, and I'm praying, I hope it stops. But I didn't stick around to see. I dipped as soon as I could for safety. During the day, yeah, the boulevard's cool, but at night it seems they got different rules. Walking down the boulevard, and what do I see? A dude delivering a running knee. There's a guy on the ground, and now they're kicking his head. Really effing hard, he could end up dead. And it's 2 on 1, and one has a knife. No way to intervene without risking your life. Some lady is screaming, she's calling the cops, and I'm praying, I hope it stops. But I didn't stick around to see.
Hey,
I
what
dipped
up,
as
though?
soon as I could for safety. During the day,
Yeah, like, I'm all thrown off that there wasn't the public works. Well, there was the meeting. But let me. So there was the meeting today, but it was at the other location, and it you could call in and listen, but they had no way to do the Zoom. And I remember when they changed the rules or whatever, and they said they were going to do the other location, but I kind of forgot that that was even an option for them. But it's kind of crappy because Monday was canceled, and then Friday, today, might as well have been canceled because we could not do public comment. So I don't know. It's like this week has just been, plus with everything else going on, um, there's not many people in here, but those who are in here, make sure to, even if you don't like DOA and you don't like his personality and you disagree with stuff that he's done, put that aside because this case is important. And I heard he's probably going to do a little bit without the lawyer and then have the lawyer come in. I don't know, but he needs money for litigation. So I don't have the link, but the link is out there. Go to the Gives and Go for DOA and help out with that. This case is really important no matter what side you're on, and I don't like saying that there's sides. There shouldn't be this division. So hopefully people can come together and see that it's about something bigger than the actual person. Yeah, because if he gets, found guilty of stuff, that opens it up for other people to be found guilty of stuff. It sets a precedence. And, I feel that those of us that are paying attention to this movement, are involved in the movement, we have reasons to do it, like legit reasons to do it. I feel like we we need to focus on that and not the person, and if you want to attack someone when they're going through this, like that's just really low. Like, I don't know, I don't even want to get into that whole situation, but when you are allegedly telling people to copy strike other channels and it happens to be the timing of the person just getting out of jail, just getting bailed out, that's a new low. And I I'm not capable of understanding how that even crosses someone's mind to stoop to that level. Um, like take a take a ceasefire moment right now, take a break with things. Let this case play out without interfering in it and trying to show how he was wrong with all these videos and stuff. Like, let it play out, and then afterwards, then pick up the beef. Like, it's I don't know. I could never be that type of person that's doing that stuff. That's But yeah, so I don't know if anyone else is here, but Haggis, can you hear if I were to do I'm trying to do a thing where I do audio on a different device. If I were to play something on my tablet, can you hear it? Hold on, let me click on something random. Um, I say random and then I'm like scrolling looking for something. Okay. Molly, what's up? Okay, so does this block the music? Like, what's the audio? Or is it super loud? I don't know if it blocks out music. I have music playing on the tablet right now. Yeah, so how do I don't know. You said you're working. I want to figure out how to get the background canceling thing turned off. Because I think that's what's stopping it, is the fact that it's trying to make it easier to hear me. Um, Let me see. If I were to play audio though, like not a song, but speaking, maybe that can you hear the AI?
Exactly, yeah, public comment consult. Okay, so one thing that really stands out to me is how these commenters, they connect these specific complaints about the permits
Right.
to these like larger issues.
Yeah, they do a good job of that.
Yeah.
It's not just like complaining about,
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's not just like
a street closure.
what is like the volume? Like, is
Yeah,
it way louder than my voice? Is it too loud, too quiet? I have nowhere to really stuff. So,
right. It's mayor's thing and they couldn't get the emergency vehicles in. Yeah, that's a good point.
okay.
that's a really good point.
Because I don't want it to be overwhelming. So, what my plan was Peter, hi, what's up? Um, I was gonna try to do some of that AI stuff, like those videos that I've been making lately. I made another, well, I didn't make another one. Well, I did because I just posted one, but I input sources for a new one. And I don't know. I've never listened to this one yet. What I did was I based it off all the videos I could find that were of public works, public comments, and then I have it do like a podcast, and I can give it little things like little directions on what direction to go or whatever. But this one is a shorter one. Usually they make them like 25 minutes and I have to cut a lot of it out because it sounds just, the raw one sounds really crazy. They say words wrong, they say nonsense, but let's check this one out. It's 11 minutes. See if there's anything.
Los Angeles infrastructure.
Yeah, but like we're not getting bogged down in, the usual boring reports and stuff.
No. We're going straight to the source, the people who are actually dealing with this stuff every single day.
Exactly. We're talking about cracked sidewalks, confusing permits, all that good stuff.
We've been listening to hours of public comment recordings from the LA Board of Public Works meetings. You can find these over on the Audit LA YouTube channel.
Audit LA, love that channel.
It's fantastic.
Shout out to Audit LA. I'm sure everyone here is already subscribed to her, but if not, definitely go subscribe to her. She's awesome. Audit LA.
Fantastic.
So it's like we're doing the work for you.
Yeah, we're sifting through all the raw feedback to bring you those key insights, the good stuff, the stuff that actually tells you what's happening.
Right on. And this is like unfiltered commentary.
Totally unfiltered.
From real Angelinos,
about stuff that like affects their daily lives, like getting around their neighborhood, or even just like trying to figure out how the city works.
Right. It's like a behind the scenes peek.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So our mission today is to like pull out the most important threads from all of this.
Yeah, give you the big picture.
Highlight the big picture and the issues that keep coming up, the problems that people are really fired up about.
Right. We want you to be informed.
Informed, but not overwhelmed.
Okay, so one thing that like really jumps out from these comments is the attention on those planters around the Church of Scientology.
Yeah.
On L. Ron Hubbard Way and Fountain.
Yeah, up on Fountain.
This has been like a recurring theme.
It's huge. And it's not just one or two people. It's like Audit LA themselves. Mona Yvonne Gigi, who also goes by Ganja sometimes.
Interesting.
Okay.
Keep bringing this up.
Yeah, and they're bringing it up for some pretty serious reasons.
Right.
ADA compliance is a big one. Mona especially has been very vocal about this.
Absolutely.
Saying that these planters, they're blocking access for wheelchair users, people with mobility challenges, people who need to use paratransit.
And she even specifically mentioned that it prevents safe
Lily, this is like an AI podcast. So what I did was I used sources from the videos of the public comments for Public Works, and then I had them create a podcast. And this one I added a few different things in the directions for it. So it might get interesting in a while, but I don't know. Like this one is just sounding like the other ones so far. So it's not sounding like it really took my direction. But
floating and unloading from those vehicles. Yeah. And she's even gone so far as to say it's a Department of Justice and ADA violation.
Wow.
And this brings up a bigger question about accessibility across the city.
Right.
I have to pause it again. Let's go. You are the reason I'm able to do what I'm doing right now. Thank you for introducing me to this whole AI thing. Like, let's go. Like, you're amazing doing the videos and you're doing a lot of stuff. You deserve your props. But specifically, I'm thanking you right now that thank you for putting me on this.
It's not just about inconvenience. It's about equal access for everybody.
And then Audit LA brought up another point that's really important. These planters are blocking that 20-foot emergency lane on L. Ron Hubbard Way.
Oh, wow.
Imagine if like an ambulance or a fire truck needed to get through there quickly.
That's scary.
It's a major safety concern.
Big time.
And this leads into another issue, enforcement. You know, like,
Yeah.
are the rules actually being enforced?
Right.
Audit LA and Ivan, they both talked about how frustrating it is that these planters have been there for months, despite all the complaints. And Gigi even mentioned that the city supposedly told her they'd be removed.
Over the phone, no less.
Right, like after a phone call.
Yeah.
But
And okay, I need to point out AI is sometimes wrong. They never told me over the phone that they were going to remove the planners. I don't remember ever saying anything like that. I like to have truth to everything I say. So if I never talked to them, I don't know. Maybe someone else said it and it's attributing it to me. I think what it does is it goes off the transcripts. So sometimes it gets confused. But yeah, so when I make my videos, I have to cut out a lot of like misinformation with this, but it's still a good like tool to have.
but they're still there.
So it really feels like the city isn't enforcing their own rules.
And maybe even giving preferential treatment, you know,
Yeah, it's hard not to think that.
as a perception issue for sure.
For sure.
Okay, so get this. Audit LA even mentioned that the sidewalk itself might be sinking
What?
because of the weight of these planters.
No way.
Yeah, that's not just a cosmetic thing, that could be structural damage.
That's serious.
Right. And then Mona adds this whole other layer
Okay.
about like the symbolic aspect of it. She
Mhm.
says these planters, they actually hinder First Amendment rights for protesters.
Whoa.
It's not just about physical access, it's about freedom of speech.
It's deeper than just planters.
Exactly. And here's another interesting thing.
Uh,
Audit LA mentioned this nail salon where a planter was like magically removed,
magically.
but these other planters are still there.
Mm.
So it just adds to that feeling that there's some kind of inconsistency going on.
Yeah, why that one?
Right.
And we got to talk about Gigi for a second.
Yeah. Gigi.
She doesn't hold back, let me tell you.
No, she does not.
She uses some strong language sometimes, but I think it just shows how frustrated people are,
Yeah.
with how things are being managed and the lack of action on this issue.
Right. Like people are passionate about this.
They care.
Okay. So we've talked about the planters,
Mhm.
which are clearly a big deal, but there's a lot more in these comments.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more.
Permitting is another big one.
Huge.
Like how the city enforces its rules more broadly.
Yeah, because those planters are just like one example.
Right. It's a symptom of a larger issue.
We heard from Mona and Audit LA on Zoom talking about how difficult it is to even find information about permits.
Yeah. On the city's
At
website.
Cinco's online portal, it's like, if you can't even find basic information, how are you supposed to hold the city accountable?
Right. And it's not just about finding information. Ivan and some other comments mentioned allegations of unpermitted work actually happening,
Oh, like things are just being built without approval.
which raises all sorts of questions about safety and, are they following the rules?
Right. Are they cutting corners?
And then there's this question that keeps coming up.
Yeah.
Why do certain entities seem to get permits more easily?
Like, is it who?
Right. And the Church of Scientology was mentioned specifically here again.
And Amy brought up this point too.
Yeah, about this sense of unfairness.
Like, are certain groups getting preferential treatment?
It's a question that needs to be asked.
Definitely.
We also heard some real frustration with the Bureau of Street Services.
Yeah, like they're the ones who are supposed to be dealing with this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
But Audit LA in February and Mike Greenspan, they both talked about the lack of
Okay, so there's an issue right there. I bet most of you have no idea who Mike Greenspan is. But for some reason, in these comments, these public comments that I sourced, they see him as super important. I try to tell the AI to focus on the people speaking out against Scientology. And I think one day he had mentioned Scientology. So that sort of it classified him as someone speaking out about Scientology. So, but Greenspan is the guy that he brings the I don't know what words I want to use on my live stream. I'm not like a prude person, but I ain't trying to. He brings adult toys to the meetings. He does it a lot at city council, but he goes to all the meetings, and he will whip it out, the toy, and he will start, like swinging it around as he's, saying his public comment. So I don't know why that guy is associated in the AI's mind, but for some reason they keep bringing him in. So there's been a lot of stuff when I do videos, I have to cut out references to him. No, not F-bomb guy. This is a different guy. He has the adult toys, and he walks up with a paper bag and he pulls it out of the paper bag. No, F-bomb guy, Mr. Herman, he's a totally different guy. And then there's Goat Puppet, and then there's Shirt Guy as well. This is a different character. He doesn't show up as often as them, but I'm sure that you will see him if you keep watching the meetings and stuff. Like, he pops up. But he said one thing against Scientology, but his comments are not really about anti-Scientology. And just because he said it once, it classified. So we got to hear like a minute or two about him, I guess, on this podcast. I can't really fast forward on this.
Of action.
It's like they're reporting problems, but nothing's happening.
There was even this one example that really stood out.
Okay.
This person felt like they were told they were off topic when they tried to talk about a water reclamation project.
Seriously?
But then it turned out it was on the agenda.
Oh, wow. So they were right.
Yeah. So you can imagine how that would make you feel.
Like your input doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Okay. So how many of you remember that? Like, I feel like that was a big moment that day where Audit was talking, and she doesn't just do the public comment. She does the multiple agenda items too. So she had done the public comment. They moved on to multiple agenda items, and she sees that there's an item talking about water reclamation, and it mentions Hyperion. I forget specifically what she said, but she was talking about water reclamation and mentioned Hyperion, just like the item said. And the city attorney kept saying that she was off topic. And then her clock was still running, and they were saying, you're off topic. And she was saying, no, it's about water reclamation. And so they used all her time, wasted her time calling her off topic when she was saying what was on the item. And then the speaker comes up, the guy that's presenting the whole item, and the first sentence out of his mouth is, I'm so and so, and I'm here from the water reclamation plant, and then he mentions Hyperion. Like, how was Audit off topic? So sometimes I call her off topic to just mess with her, because that one was totally, I remember the next meeting, I used my time to call them out on that. And I still feel like they owe her an apology for that, and the several other times that they have, said she was off topic. But, if you want to try to branch out and do the multiple agenda items, her technique that day was a good technique. Like, if you mention what's in the item, like on the agenda, the little brief thing about it, if you just mention words from there, you are on topic. And, like, there's a bigger part of the agenda where it's a packet, and it can be hundreds, sometimes thousands of pages long. I've seen really long packets, agenda packets. And with those, you can learn more about the specific item, and it'll tell you all the information. But no one has time for that. So if you want to do multiple agenda items, just scan through the regular agenda and find keywords and talk about that subject. Like the other day when there was something about the sidewalk repairs, it didn't say where that was, or the streets, it didn't say where that was. So because of ignorance of, not being able to know specifically what they're talking about, you can be on topic. And like I said, I feel like they target Audit And a lot of times they unfairly say she's off topic, but I don't see that as much with the others. I do see other people getting called off topic, but she's the one that they kind of target with it. But let's continue with this podcast. We're about halfway through. See if there's anything else.
No, beyond those planters, we also heard a lot about accessibility for people with disabilities.
Yeah, this is a big theme.
Huge.
All over the city, broken sidewalks, missing curb cuts.
Just general challenges getting around for people with disabilities.
And people were asking some really specific questions.
Like, who is the city's disability coordinator?
Yeah, and what are they doing to make sure things are ADA compliant?
Especially with new projects.
Right, they're looking for accountability.
There was that example in the comment highlights where the city clerk's office could provide Braille, but the public works office couldn't.
Interesting.
It just highlights the inconsistencies across different departments.
And Amy brought up the issue of tree wells.
Yeah, those things are a hazard.
For strollers, wheelchairs, you name it.
Okay, Amy, are you in here right now? Because like I was saying before, there's some. Oh, I think you said you were catching up. Well, I don't know. You might be up to date or up to time right now, but I'm wondering if what they are saying you said, if you remember saying this, because they attribute stuff to me that I've never said. But I don't know, there's a lag. I don't know if you're hearing this now or but let's see what they have to say about Amy and her comment. But I don't remember this part.
A hazard.
For
About the
Right.
speaking with this one.
broken sidewalks, missing curb cuts.
Just general challenges getting around for people with disabilities.
And people were asking some really specific questions.
Like, who is the city's disability coordinator?
Yeah, and what are they doing to make sure things are ADA compliant?
Especially with new projects.
Right, they're looking for accountability.
There was that example in the comment highlights where the city clerk's office could provide Braille, but the public works office couldn't.
Interesting.
It just highlights the inconsistencies across different departments.
And
Okay.
Amy brought up the issue of tree wells.
Yeah, those things are a hazard.
For strollers, wheelchairs, you name it.
It's like these little design choices that can make a big difference.
And I think the overall feeling that comes through in one of these comments is that the ADA community doesn't feel heard.
Yeah, like their needs aren't being considered.
So these public works meetings, they're supposed to be about public participation.
Right. Everyone gets their say.
But a lot of the comments are actually about the meetings themselves.
Meta.
Yeah, like how they're run and the rules for public comment.
It's like complaining about the complaint process.
Exactly.
What's fascinating is how much of the discussion is about the speaking time and the order of speakers.
Yeah, like do people speak before or after the presentation?
Right, because that could influence things.
We heard from Audit LA in November, Gigi in January. Audit LA again later in
They're
January.
cranking this up.
It's clearly a point of contention.
It's like they're not even getting to the issues because they're fighting about the process.
And I think that they might do that on purpose. Like I think that obviously they changed the rules. I don't know who in here is aware, but you used to be able to get, I think it was 2 minutes to speak. It's been so long, I forget. But you got more time to speak. And then they didn't group the multiple agenda items. You could go through and each item you could speak. And they used to make you speak before you heard what the presenter was saying. And then they were going to go and do this rule change. And this was back in November. Or actually, it was in October when they started making it known. And early November, I think, is when they changed the rules. Or mid-November. But they moved it to a minute. And as they were trying to pass the new rules, I had made the comment, others had made the comment about how it's not fair to make us speak about the multiple agenda items before we even hear the presentation. We don't know, we don't know what the content is. We just have the brief description. So, like, they switched it, or no, the judge, Commissioner Judge Mitchell, she brought up, I think we should change the rules to where you can speak afterwards so that you know what's going on. And she asked if that could be changed. And then the President Corson, he said, "Oh, I don't think that's necessary to put that in the rules. We can just do that and blah, blah, blah." So that totally just got ignored. And then, like, the next week, they went to, you get a minute and then you get the multiple agenda items. And if you want to speak on one topic, you can wait and listen through, and they do allow you to speak after the presentation now. But they've been very shady with that. There's been times when I've had my hand raised for a single item and they totally ignore me. There's also been times where they collect the names at the beginning and I sign up for multiple agenda item and they just skip me. Like, they play shady games. So I feel like they have all these things that are like hurdles to deal with so that we do get frustrated and call them out on it and waste our tiny little minute complaining about it. And, a lot of times, like, I'm the one I feel that has to do that most of the time, or doesn't have to do it, but I'm the one that does it a lot of the time. Other people are able to stay on topic and talk about what they were meant to talk about, but I remember sticking up for Audit. Audit, what up though? I remember when she was off top, or they called her off topic, like we were just talking about. And the next meeting, I called them out. I told them that it was wrong. They owe her an apology. I remember complaining about how when they changed the rules, how it's so minimal with the time. Like, there's not time to get a point across with a minute. Like, I point out a lot of stuff with them. I feel like there's a lot of other people that call in that can keep the focus on what we need. So sometimes I do that, like housekeeping and stuff, like I don't know. I think some people might want me to mention Scientology a bit more when I'm calling into these comments, but at the same time, I do feel it's important to call them out when they're doing shady stuff themselves. But we have about 3 more minutes left of this podcast thing. Let's see what this, I don't know. It's not doing what I instructed it to do at all. My commands for it did not factor in at all. But
And Audit LA even brought up allegations that the rules were changed before they were officially approved.
Wow, that's shady.
Yeah, it erodes trust.
For sure.
And I think the underlying frustration is that people feel like they're not being heard.
Yeah, like what's the point of speaking if nobody's listening?
Right.
One commenter even suggested switching things up.
Well, yeah.
Like have the staff present first, then public comment.
Interesting.
They thought it would make the meetings more focused and productive.
Could be worth trying.
Beyond these specific issues, there were also some broader concerns about the city's infrastructure as a whole.
Yeah, the big picture stuff.
Mike Greenspan and WF, they
see,
both asked about
again, like Greenspan is just popping up in there. So he said one thing about Scientology in his comment, and it was something like really random, and it's not like he was pushing the issue. He just mentioned it one time, and then they classified him as being one of the public commenters talking about Scientology. So, yeah.
basic maintenance of streets and sidewalks.
It's like the foundation of the city, you know.
Right. If those are in good shape, nothing else matters.
And then there were concerns about how the city's managing its money.
Like, are these projects being done efficiently and cost effectively?
Are we getting our money's worth?
Ivan was particularly vocal about this.
Audit LA pointed out something potentially worrying about the sewer maintenance fund.
Okay, what's that?
They suggested it might be too low, which could be a problem down the line.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with the sewers.
And someone mentioned a backlog in addressing ADA issues.
Which brings us back to that accessibility theme.
Right. It's a persistent problem.
And this one comment really stood out. Someone named Henry was talking about gas lines.
Oh, yeah.
He was concerned that they might be illegally connected to underground tunnels.
If that's true, that's a huge safety hazard.
Big,
Okay, so we got to talk about some of the names that came up over and over again.
yeah, the key players.
The Church of Scientology, obviously.
Central to a lot of these complaints.
Then there's Commissioner Davis.
Someone actually praised them for asking good questions.
Yeah, it's like they want to see more of that from the Public Works Commission.
For scrutiny.
On the other hand, Vice President Villegas,
Ooh, yeah.
there were multiple calls for their resignation.
Wow, that's serious.
People weren't happy with how they were handling things.
That speaks volumes.
The city attorney's office got some criticism too.
Por favor.
People felt like they weren't giving good legal advice or enforcing the laws properly.
And of course, the Bureau of Street Services and the Bureau of Engineering.
They came up a lot.
They're the ones responsible for most of this stuff.
And we can't forget Audit LA,
The heroes of the day.
giving us all this amazing firsthand information.
They're doing the Lord's work.
So what are the big takeaways here?
I think the themes are really clear accessibility concerns, frustration with permitting and enforcement.
And this incredible passion from the public.
They're really trying to hold the city accountable.
For me, the number of complaints about those planners that really stood out.
Yeah, and those calls for Vegas to resign, like that's not nothing.
It shows how deeply people care about this stuff.
And those specific allegations against certain groups, that's important too.
It's all about transparency.
Ultimately, these public comments, they give us a really valuable look at how a big city's public works system is functioning.
Or not functioning.
Right. And it reminds us that infrastructure isn't just about concrete and pipes,
It's about people.
about how they experience their city and whether they feel heard.
So here's a thought for you to ponder.
Get me?
What does all this public engagement tell us about the relationship between the people of LA and their government?
Ooh, that's a good one.
And what kind of impact can these individual voices have?
Yeah, can they actually change things?
We encourage you to check out the Audit LA YouTube channel yourself.
Dive deep.
Hear these comments in their full context.
It's eye-opening.
And we hope this deep dive has given you some food for thought.
Maybe even inspire.
Okay, so I consider that a fail. I'm not even going to download that one at all. I'm going to just delete that. Does anyone have any like commands for the next one? Like, does anyone have any ideas of what I should put in? I was going to ask it to focus on street vacations and antics, welcome. So I'm going to say focus on public comments involving, and then put it in quotation marks, street vacations. Though I need to put newer sources on here because there's a lot more that's been since I added sources. Yes, I audit. I always do that because I did one time where I actually made it I made it a Scientology propaganda. I wish I would have saved that one. It was so hilarious, but it was scary how powerful it sounded. Like I was not getting talked into Scientology, but it was still yeah, let's see. So focus on the street vacations and then audience anti-Scientology and okay, what was the next one? Did someone else say something? Let's see. Hospital access. I think that's going to be included with the street vacation information. And then just to make it more fun, I'm going to see if I can do it in the tone of a stoner, since this is the Ganja Girl channel. Do in tone of stoner, include stoner humor and jargon and references. Okay. let's see how this works. Now, when you hit generate on this thing, sometimes you got to wait like 5 minutes. Great grandma, what's up? Let's see, I struggle when I'm like doing these streams because my glasses have too much of a reflection, so I take them off. But like trying to see on the YouTube chat, I can read chat really good. But on the StreamYard thing, it's like I have to like get close and squint. And, let's see. Nope, it's still generating. Do I have any? Oh, let me play my song that I haven't released. This is like a unreleased song. I played it at the beginning, but it's a very short one. Wait, it's starting in the middle. Okay, let's try this again.
Walking down the boulevard, and what do I see? A dude delivering a running knee. There's a guy on the ground, and now they're kicking his head. Really effing hard, he could end up dead. And it's 2 on 1, and one has a knife. No way to intervene without risking your life. Some lady is screaming, she's calling the cops, and I'm praying, I hope it stops. But I didn't stick around to see. I dipped as soon as I could for safety. During the day at the boulevard's cool, but at night it seems they got different rules. Walking down the boulevard, and what do I see? A dude delivering a running knee. There's a guy on the ground, and now they're kicking his head. Really effing hard, he could end up dead. And it's
Yeah, I got my coffee prepared for the meeting and everything. Like, I'm trying to cut back. I'm trying to cut back on coffee. I'm trying to cut back on caffeine in general. But I told myself if there's a meeting and I'm calling in, you know, that justifies a coffee. So I kind of got a freebie today with that since there was no meeting. But I guess I can justify it. I'm doing a live stream, so it gives me something to drink during. I don't know. But I used to drink. This is like a super big one. I used to drink 3 of these each day, every single day. So I've cut back to one of them 3 times a week. Okay, I keep forgetting I can put these up here on the thing. I make notes on what to say, but when it comes time to speak, words fly out my mouth. I have to go back and see what I said. It's the weirdest thing. See, I'm like that too. Like, if I make notes, I don't usually stick to I get sidetracked when I'm speaking. So I've just I've been doing the whole just freestyling, and I don't feel like I sound as confident as I used to. I feel like the last couple weeks I've been struggling to stay on topic of what I plan to say and going off on a tangent. So I personally need to figure out how to get myself back on track to where I want to be. You know, if I take notes when I speak, it it sounds like a machine, like a computer. And yeah, like I don't know. This AI thing is still generating. I don't know how long it's been, but I feel like for how long it's generating, this better be like a 25-minute podcast that it makes. But if it's doing all this and it turns out to be like a 9-minute one, I'm gonna like rage quit and just give up on this. Oh, okay. So it's not 9 minutes, so I don't have to rage quit. But it's only 13 minutes. So let's see. I told it basically to focus on the street vacations and to make it like a stoner type of vibe and to be anti-Scientology perspective. So let's see what this does.
Okay, so have you attended those public meetings? There's one street vacations.
Yeah.
And then there's these planters, these like never ending planters everywhere. What is the deal with that? It's like week after week, people are going off about ADA stuff and permits.
Yeah, it's wild, right? It's like these public commenters are stuck in some kind of time loop, Groundhog Day style. They just keep bringing up the same issues over and over.
Okay, so there's a lot of people in here that call in. Doesn't it feel like that? Like this AI thing, this is so smart. Because to me, it really feels like Groundhog Day all the time. It's like starting to feel like it's, like just a repeat. Like we're bringing up the same topics and they're not doing anything and then they're interrupting us and it's just the same thing, different day. And, if you are feeling like that, know that you're, not alone. Like I feel like it's super repetitive at this point and dragging on and whatnot, but you gotta push through that frustration. But yeah, I don't know, like it 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 should be over. Like we shouldn't have had to be going there for this many months.
Over again. I mean, it's impressive the dedication they have.
Yeah.
But it also makes you wonder, like, what's the real story here? What's got them so fired up,
For sure. And for everyone listening out there, especially you guys who've like walked that street, maybe even protested there, you know what you're talking about? It's like this weird vibe. You've seen the planters, maybe even like tripped over one in the dark. You've probably also seen the street blocked off for who knows what reason.
Right.
So basically, this deep dive is like our attempt to decode all the messages coming out of those meetings. We've been going through hours of these public comments, trying to piece together this like cosmic puzzle, and hopefully, like shed some light on why these issues keep popping up around L. Ron Hubbard Way.
It is kind of like a puzzle, isn't it? When you zoom out, you start to see that a lot of these very specific, like hyper local complaints, they often point to bigger issues.
Yeah.
Things like public access and whether the city is applying its rules fairly, and the fact that people keep coming back, week after week and saying the same things. That tells you this is more than just like a minor annoyance for them. It's like there's something deeper going on here.
Right. So our mission for this episode is pretty simple. We're gonna like dive headfirst into this mountain public comments. Shout out Audit LA on YouTube for like chronicling all this stuff.
Seriously.
We're talking like August 2024 to February 2025. And we're going to try to pull out the recurring themes, the stuff that probably already has you like nodding your head.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll uncover some juicy little nuggets of information that can help us understand this whole situation better. Did it get weird?
Let's do it. Let's see what patterns we can find in all this noise.
All right, let's start with the, let's call it the botanical mystery of L. Ron Hubbard Way and Fountain Avenue. I'm talking about those planters, man. They're like everywhere.
Yeah, the planters, they've become like the unofficial mascots of this whole saga.
It's like someone said, hey, let's just put a bunch of planters on the sidewalk and see what happens. And then they just like forgot about them.
And people...
See, that right there irritates me because no matter what I do, I can't get them to understand the context of why the planters are there. Like, the planters were there to block people from exercising their First Amendment rights. So it's like, I don't know, it's not giving all the context to it. No, but Amy, it says some crazy stuff for being AI. Like it has really good insight on stuff. So I don't know, it's hit or miss whether it's accurate or not.
People definitely notice. We keep hearing from people like DJ.
Wait, I have to point that out. They said the folks at Audit LA. Audit LA is not a group. Audit LA is an individual. Audit LA is her own person. There is no group called Audit LA. Okay.
aesthetics. They're specifically calling out potential violations of the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Exactly. And that's not something to be taken lightly. ADA violations can have some pretty serious consequences, like lawsuits, fines.
Specific, like we're hearing from people who rely on paratransit, those accessible vans.
Right.
And they're saying they can't get dropped off safely because these planters are like blocking the sidewalk. It's a serious accessibility issue.
It is. And the sheer number of planters, it's mind boggling. That number 251 keeps coming up like a bad trip.
Dude, 251. That's like a whole botanical garden.
I know, right? And they've been there for months, which makes you wonder, like, what's the plan here?
Right. What's the city's explanation for all this?
Yeah, is it beautification, traffic calming, whatever the reason? These ADA concerns are a big deal.
Totally. And then there's the issue of the sidewalk itself. Apparently on the Fountain Avenue side, the sidewalk is starting to like sink under the weight of all these planters.
Wow, seriously. Like, what are they filled with? Bricks.
I know, right? And then, as if that wasn't enough, we've got rose bushes chilling on the public easement. Now, roses are cool and all, but they grow thorns.
Oh, yeah.
And those thorns can be like a hazard, especially for people with disabilities. Just to be clear, a public easement is like a part of private property that's supposed to be open to the public, like a sidewalk.
Right. So it's not just about like blocking the path, it's also about potential injuries from those thorns.
Yeah, and what's really frustrating is that people have been bringing this up for months. They've documented it, they've shown the city evidence,
Right.
and yet nothing seems to change. Like those planters are like rooted in place.
It's concerning. Right.
Just a disclaimer, at this current time, the planters are removed. But like I said, this is old info that this is based on.
This lack of action, despite all the concerns, makes you wonder if the city is really listening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes people feel like maybe certain entities are getting special treatment. Like, why are these planters allowed to stay when other sidewalk obstructions get shut down so quickly?
Right. It creates this perception of a double standard, which can erode trust in the system.
For sure. Okay, let's shift gears a little bit, but we're still in the L. Ron Hubbard Way vortex.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the street itself has become a major source of controversy.
Oh, yeah.
All these constant closures for like events. Commenters are calling it a de facto street vacation. What does that even mean?
Okay, so a street vacation is basically when the city says this street, it's no longer a public right of way. It's like giving it away.
Whoa.
And what these commenters are saying is that all these temporary closures, they're creating the same effect as a street vacation.
Oh, I see.
The street is constantly unavailable to the public, but without the city actually going through the formal street vacation process.
Which is like the whole legal thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. There are public hearings, impact studies, all that stuff. And these temporary closures might be a way to sidestep all that.
Sneaky. And it gets even sketchier when you consider the safety concerns.
Mm-hmm.
People are saying that the required 20-foot emergency lane is often blocked during these closures.
Yeah, that's a big no-no. That lane is crucial for emergency vehicles, fire trucks, ambulances.
Right.
If it's blocked, it's a huge safety risk.
Totally. So the big question is, who's authorizing these closures?
Oh.
Who's calling? A whole different set of rules for Scientology, right?
Right.
We're hearing complaints that other businesses are being scrutinized way more closely for like sidewalk stuff,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to people experiencing homelessness. But Scientology seems to get a free pass.
Yeah, that kind of inconsistency can lead to a lot of resentment and distrust.
For sure. Okay, let's talk about the permits themselves. Commenters are saying that it's almost impossible to find any information about permits for events and those planters on L. Ron Hubbard Way using the city's online system.
Really, that's a problem. Transparency is key, man.
Yeah.
The public should have easy access to that information.
Yeah, and it's not just about finding the permits. There are also claims that the permits that do exist aren't being enforced properly.
So, like, what's the point of having permits if no one's checking to make sure the rules are being followed?
Exactly. And there was this one incident where a commenter said they were told they weren't allowed on a public street during an event because they were like known to be critical of Scientology.
Wait, seriously? That's a First Amendment issue right there. You can't ban someone from a public street because of their views.
I know, right? It's super messed up. And on top of all that, there are
So notice how the AI pointed out that you cannot ban someone from a street because of their views. That to me kind of sounds similar to a hate crime. I don't know how it could be classified as one, but it seems very close to that. Like when they had their list of people that weren't allowed to be there, they were basically saying that people that are not in their religion and super, on their side with their religion weren't allowed there, but the public was allowed there. And I don't know. I am not a lawyer. I do not know these things. I just wonder. Right, like, and I've witnessed people that have had tickets for these events, and they tried to show the tickets and they won't even look at the ticket, or they do look at the ticket, but then they tell them they can't be there. Like, even if it's a free event, if you have a ticket and it says, it's a public event, but you can't come in because they don't agree with your views and their religion, so you're banned from being in there based on your religious or lack of religious views. So I wonder what a lawyer would say that specializes in civil rights, what they would say about this. Yes, like making a list like that and discriminating based on someone's, like, hate crimes when it comes to religion is not just based on actual, like, religions. It's based on discriminating on lack of religion as well. So if you discriminate and, you know, kick out people that aren't the same faith as you, that there, in my mind, that has to be something. It is hard to find a lawyer because people are scared. Like they are able like, I don't know if they are, I mean, they probably are, but I don't know if they are extorting or blackmailing or whatever, but they have a way to create that fear where people do not want to go to court against them. Um, I I really wish that there was like a lawyer that was in LA that was randomly watching some of the streams and then just volunteered. Um, I also wish, if you guys know who Emily D. Baker is, she is she's on YouTube. She's quite famous in like the law watching, the court watching and all that stuff, that community of YouTube. But she is a former prosecutor, former district attorney or something for Los Angeles. So that seems very relevant to me. For her to, like, I would want her opinion on this. I really wish that, someone that's maybe bigger in the community could maybe get her on. Like, I don't know, the two highest viewing or highest subscriber count ones. I I don't know about them right now. But I wish that, someone could get her on, or even get her to do something on her stream mentioning what's going on. Right? There's a lot of them. I think of her specifically because her past connections to Los Angeles. So she has a really good perspective, but at the same time, I don't know how long ago that was. So she might um her information might be a little off with things. But I don't know, like I would like to get her views on a lot of things, and if there were certain aspects of it that she didn't want to cover, that's cool because there's a lot of topics that, she could comment on. Like even if it just had to do with what we've been calling about with that aspect of things. And, she didn't want to go too deep into the Scientology part of it. Like she could just dip her toes in. Like I just wish that she would, yeah. Um but yeah, like I just wish that there was someone that could sort of do pro bono, like donate their time in a way. And, even like what if there was a civil lawsuit and someone could do it not pro bono, but on the contingency of getting paid afterwards? Um, yeah, going against, like, there's so many different topics that she could touch on. And yeah, she has the big cases, and I understand, like, this is minor and small. Emily D. Baker. And if you go to look for her, I don't know if that's exactly her ad, but she has purple hair. And she she's amazing with the footage that I've seen. I've watched I think I watched Parkland with her, and she did the whole trial for that. And she was always mentioning, former prosecutor in Los Angeles. And I don't know, someone was reading some email correspondence from someone that was a former prosecutor, I think in LA. And I wonder, maybe she did speak on this. I don't know. Like maybe she was the one that sent that email to that person. But and if that's the case, then okay, let's see what other people are out there. Because that, I don't know, that interpretation of things is, I don't know. When I think of like lawyers and stuff, that's only one I can think of. Like, what are some other names? Like, um, Amy, who can you think of? Or Joe, do you know anyone? Because I think that, even if it wasn't necessarily to generate content, if it was just to, like, I wonder if she would do some type of consultation or something, and how much she would charge for that. And, like, I don't know if it was something reasonable, maybe that could, but I don't know. Like, I just feel there's got to be some type of lawyer out there that can give some direction. And again, I guess this is a good time to mention, no matter what your feelings are about DOA the person, this case that's going on, these charges that are against him affect, way more than just him. And it can create either a positive precedence or a negative precedence. And he needs help with litigation fees. And I don't have the link, but it's the Gives and Go one. It's not GoFundMe, it's Gives and Go. And it was made by Pink Panther. And I'm a little confused on what's going on, so don't quote me, but I think the DOA is going to handle a few things by himself. he's gonna, sort of save money by waiting till he needs to get the lawyer. So he's not paying for things that he already knows how to do, I think, but I might be wrong. But my impression is he wants to get that money for litigation in general, because it's not just these charges, there's other things that need lawyers. So if you're able to help do it, if you're going to, be struggling by doing it, then don't, someone else will. But like I said, no matter, what your feelings are, this is a very important case. So I'm trying to do another. I did not like that podcast thing, so I'm not even going to finish that one. But did anyone notice how there was like, I typed in something like stoner and all that stuff, and it did not do it. So I'm wondering, and I told it to focus on street vacations, and it focused on everything. So I don't know, but I do know I was able to make it do like stoner voices. I have it saved on my phone that I'm streaming on, so I can't pull that up. But let's see, speak in a stoner tone, include. Okay, let's do audience. We're gonna just say, even though a lot of you don't even smoke, the audience are stoners. Yeah, and I don't know. I think that's a good way to save some money. Like, he's proven he knows how to do part of the process, and each each thing that the lawyer has to do, they make so much money per hour. Like, once you retain them, they charge you for the time you talk to them on the phone or emails. And sometimes they act like the emails took way longer to type up than they actually did. Lawyers are expensive. Um, so I don't know. I want to try something crazy with this next podcast. It didn't listen before, but I'm gonna try to make this a reality competition. Um, how would I word that? I wouldn't say do as um in the form of a reality competition show. Rate, or we got to say focus on public comments, and rate the commenters on, let's do 5 categories. The commenter with the highest cumulative, how do you spell that? Cumulative rating wins and becomes the champion. Okay. Now, I got a feeling it's going to just ignore all that stuff. But that would be really cool to, like, I've tried this before. That's how I sort of get in, like, the videos I did before. They sort of do ratings, but like, this is just for entertainment purposes. This is just, an AI. There's no intention for any hurt feelings. I totally respect all the other people that are calling regularly and that are, doing it for the right reasons. So, if someone gets lower scores than what they should, I'm going to point that out. But this is going to be AI's opinion, and it might say that I have like some super low score. I'm not gonna let it get to me because it's just AI. Like that's the thing. Like this is literally just AI. I am not typing anything in, telling it what to rate people. I'm not telling it how to critique or compliment people. I am just letting AI do its thing. It's still like Amy thought it was fast how it generates the thing, but I'm feeling like it's taken forever. It's just spinning and generating, but and like I said, it likes to attribute things to the wrong people. Sometimes I hear them saying that Yvonne is saying what President Corson is saying. You know, so it sounds like Yvonne, they're quoting her, and it sounds like she's um, running a meeting. So I don't know, but yeah, it's just a machine, and I don't know, it's taking so long. Because when I was first doing, I think it's because my tablet too. But when I first was doing these, am I frozen? Okay, my thing was, I don't know. But when I first did these, I could have one pull up in like 2 minutes, and now it's taking. Actually, I don't think it's going slow. I think it's just the fact that I'm streaming, and so I feel like I need to rush. I don't want to wait for it. I want it to just pop up and be ready now, so I don't have to just keep talking about nothing. I don't know. Like I said, when it takes a long time to generate these, I always hope that it's gonna be like a good long 25-minute one or a half hour. And then it disappoints me and it turns out to be like 9 minutes or 13 minutes. And it's like, why did it take so long to? And all the sources, I have like 50 sources for this, but they've been used several times. So it's not like I'm adding new sources. Like this AI and this like conversation knows so much and it keeps, I don't know, saying this may take a few minutes. Okay, good. It's 27 minutes. So at least it was a long one for that time. Let's see what they say this time.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're doing things a little differently. Instead of like, articles and stuff, we're diving into some seriously interesting audio.
Public comments, man, from the Public Works Commission meetings. It's like a whole other world.
Right, like a reality show, but with like real issues and stuff.
And we thought, let's make it a competition, a head-to-head 5-category showdown to find the ultimate public commenter.
Totally. We're going to be judging these brave souls on 5, like, totally subjective, totally baked categories. First up, vibe check. How chill or fired up are they, right?
Then we've got truth bomb dropped. Did they say something that like blew our minds?
Next, sticking to the script. Kinda. Like, do they even try to talk about the agenda?
Calling out the bullshit, always a plus.
And finally, overall high. Like, what kind of aftertaste did their comment leave?
We're going to listen to some choice clicks, break them down, and rate them. At the end, the commenter with the highest total score gets crowned public comment champion.
All right, first up, November 22nd meeting. This commenter jumps right in, talking about permits on L. Ron Hubbard Way.
They actually connect it to future stuff with the Church of Scientology, like strategically.
Interesting. Then there's Amy. Same meeting. She's got some strong feelings about those planters, man. Ditch them, follow the law, ADA compliance, the whole deal.
She even mentions someone almost tripping and calls out the Church of Scientology directly. Short and sweet, but definitely got some impact.
Right on. Next, Tech Tracy, still November 22nd. Wants to talk about everything general public comment. Items 2 and 3.
Hold up, though, because now we got...
I think that might be that Greenspan person that they're talking about now under a different name. But I don't know. I don't know this name.
to dive into this Bureau of Street Services report. Gives us some context, man.
They talk about their 30 investigators, the areas they cover, and the insane number of requests and permits. 59,000 requests and 22,000 permits.
They even break down their enforcement process from notices of violation to criminal citations and what kind of permits they don't handle, like parades.
Good to know. Then one commissioner, Grant, asks about those numbers, like any duplicates.
Mhm.
Apparently, yeah, maybe 5%.
Oh, okay. So where I got confused by it, they said, I don't know. I think they were talking about it. It's an inspector or something for the bureau that's speaking to the commission. Kiera, what's up? And so they're talking about Grant asking a question. So, okay, Kiera, what we're doing is I uploaded several, like 50 different meetings into this database, and I'm having AI do little podcasts based on the public comments. So it's sort of hearing, you know, it's just AI, so it is entertainment only. But I'm, as someone that calls in all the time, I'm learning a lot, and I'm learning a lot about my own calls and what I can do to change and be better, or what I can continue doing. So I'm looking at this. This is fun, but it's also like a learning tool. And this one that we're currently listening to, we just made, and it's supposed to be like a reality competition. So it's going to rate people on 5 categories. I should have went through and listed some of the important people for them to rate, but I think there's going to be random people that are also in this.
You also asked about how long it takes to solve stuff.
Their goal is 3 days to check out a place, and they claim they resolve over 93% of cases within the year. Pretty efficient, if you believe them.
Then another commissioner, Carranza, asks about special event permits. How many can one person get? Do they check for past problems?
Seems they do. They mention a 45-day notice for applying, but it's often quicker for simpler events. No limit on consecutive days, depends on the event. Sometimes they even notify the neighbors.
All right, enough setup. Back to the comments. Best Public Works 214, this commenter is straight up calling out the board, saying they got to follow up on projects, not be scared of certain folks.
They're worried about stinky water, think we need houses more than theaters, and definitely no Scientology involved in any theater projects.
They even mentioned street vacations and a lawyer who's apparently getting beat in court by people without lawyers.
Wild. Then there's this other one talking about a headwater control system that should have been fixed earlier, saying it's costing more now because they're doing it twice.
Also, something about packed buses and routes that might not make sense.
All right, comment highlights. This commenter is back on L. Ron Hubbard Way, talking about no 20-foot emergency lane, calling it a de facto street vacation.
They're also tripping on the planters, saying they're not ADA compliant and might be sinking the sidewalk.
And get this, they claim the city is guiding people to Scientology for cheaper permits. Whoa.
Then Mona, in the highlights, also on the planter issue. Can't get stuff loaded or unloaded, major ADA violation.
She emailed TJ Knight and hasn't heard back. Oof. Another commenter in the highlights is trying to reach the Department of Engineering. No replies.
They want to know if their emails are even going through. Then they switch to talking about ADA compliance for all city projects, asking the city to actually talk to people with disabilities.
Good point. Joe jumps in next. He can't read his own Braille for agenda item 4 because the board didn't provide it.
He says the city attorney's office and the city clerk had to step in. He's calling him out, man. Then another commenter on item 4 is also hitting the ADA compliance thing hard, saying the disabled community ain't being respected.
Comment highlights Public Works meeting 92124. This commenter wishes they could hear the speaker
Okay,
first.
so we were gonna. I'm not crazy. They did mention that it was gonna be like a competition. They were gonna rate people. Why aren't they naming people in this one? We are not gonna sit here and listen to 26 minutes if they're not even listening to my commands on what to do. So let me go like halfway through, see what they're doing.
On item 2, doesn't like the multiple agenda item rule, feels like it limits their ability to comment, says the rules weren't even fully approved.
Public Works comments 12725. Quick one. Someone says if they don't get paid.
Yeah, so they're gonna just go through. But let's see if they name a champion or give any ratings, or I don't know.
The Army Corps of Engineers. Vibe check. A bomb. Maybe a 3. It's a potential.
Okay, so there are some numbers.
Sticking to the agenda, they mentioned a few different things. So a 4.
Calling out the bullshit.
Yeah.
They mentioned scary individuals, so a 3.
Hmm.
And overall
Okay,
resonance.
but who are they talking about? I skipped way too far ahead.
Accusing Scientology of child labor.
Laura F.M. Anderson talks about being raised in Scientology, child labor, and seeing the same hidden labor with the planters.
Kelly says if all this bad stuff's so blatant, imagine what's not being shown.
iPhone attendee Jay Smith talks about their girlfriend having to deliver their baby at the Scientology building because of a broken elevator.
Surge is against agenda item 1, doesn't want to give money because of the planters. Accuses the city of enabling bad stuff in Scientology.
Last one's from Street Services, giving an update on street projects. Then someone asks if they're equal to a specific person and wants to report them. Another commenter mentions unlawful gas lines.
All right, man, we just went through a ton of public comments. It's
Yeah.
wild how much people care about these things.
Right. So let's start scoring these commenters and see who becomes our public comment champion. First up, remember that commenter from November 22nd who talked about the permits on L. Ron Hubbard Way?
Yeah, for vibe check, I'd give him a 3 out of 5. Not super exciting, but got the point across.
Truth bomb dropped. I'd say a 4. That comment about the meeting being a chance for people to speak up was smart.
Sticking to the agenda, definitely a 4. Calling out the bullshit, not so much, maybe a 2.
And overall resonance, we'll go with a 3. Made you think about the future. So that's 16 total for our first contender.
All right, next up, Amy and those planters. She was fired up, man.
Okay,
Definitely a 5 for vibe check.
Oh.
And truth bomb dropped. A 5-2. ADA violations are serious.
Sticking to the agenda, I'd say a 4. She did focus on a specific problem.
Calling out the bullshit. Oh yeah, a 5 for that. And overall resonance, silent 4. That's 23 for Amy. She's in the lead.
Tech Tracy,
Awesome
let's talk about
job,
everything,
Amy.
remember? Vibe check, a 3. Kind of all over the place.
Truth bomb. Not really. A 2. Sticking to the agenda.
wait,
A 1.
who is this
Definitely
one?
not finding the board, but scoring these commenters and see who becomes. That comment about the meeting being a chance for people to speak up was smart.
Sticking to the agenda, definitely a 4. Calling out the bullshit, not so much, maybe a 2.
And overall resonance,
Okay.
we'll go with a 3.
I think we're
Made you
gonna
think
hear
about the
Amy
future.
again.
So that's 16 total for our first contender.
All right, next up, Amy and those planters. She was fired up, man.
Definitely a 5 for vibe check.
Oh.
And truth bomb dropped. A 5-2. ADA violations are serious.
Sticking to the agenda, I'd say a 4. She did focus on a specific problem.
Calling out the bullshit. Oh yeah, a 5 for that. And overall resonance, silent 4. That's 23 for Amy. She's in the lead.
Tech Tracy wants to talk about everything, remember? Vibe check, a 3. Kind of all over the place.
Truth bomb. Not really. A 2. Sticking to the agenda. A 1. Definitely not following the rules.
Calling out the bullshit, another one. Overall resonance, A2. Just kind of confusing. That's a low score of 9 for tech.
Okay. That Best Public Works 214 commenter. Pretty straightforward. Vibe check. A 3. Truth bomb. I'd say a 4 for reminding the board about follow-up and accountability.
Agreed. Sticking to the agenda, they mentioned a few different things, so a 4.
Calling out the bullshit.
Yeah.
And they mentioned scary individuals, so a 3. And overall resonance, a 3. Some good points about how the city should work.
All right, that brings them to 17 total. Then we have that commenter focused on the headwater control system. Vibe check, a 3. Very calm.
Truth bomb. I'd say a 4 for pointing out the cost of redoing the repair.
Sticking to the agenda, definitely a 5. Calling out the bullshit. Not really a 1.
And overall resonance, a 3. It was informative, but not the most exciting. That's 16.
All right, now things get interesting. That commenter from the comment highlights who went off about L. Ron Hubbard Way, intense.
Vibe check, definitely a 4.
But see, they're not naming these other people, so I have no idea who anyone could have said any of these comments, and the ones that they're not being. But I'm glad the person that we do know, Amy's in the lead. So hopefully Amy gets to be the champion.
4. Truth bomb, a 5. Easy. All those accusations, if true. How?
Sticking to the agenda, I'd say a 4, all about public spaces and such. Calling out the bullshit, definitely a 4. And overall resonance, a 4 as well.
That's 21 total. Climbing up the ranks.
Mona and the planters again. Vibe check, a 3.
Okay,
She's frustrated
Mona.
but focused.
Bomb, a 4. Those issues are real. Sticking to the agenda, a 5. She's zeroed in.
Calling out the bullshit, maybe a 3 for mentioning TJ Knight and not getting a response. Overall resonance, a 3. 18 total for Mona.
The commenter who can't reach the Department of Engineering, vibe check, a 2. Kind of defeated. Truth bomb, not really. A 2.
Sticking to the agenda. Starts with a specific issue, then goes broad, so a 3.
Calling out the bullshit. Not directly. A 2. Overall resonance, a 4. That point about consulting people with disabilities is important.
Agreed. That gives them a 13.
Joe in the Braille situation, vibe check, a 4.
Again, I want to stress that this is just AI, and Mona deserves a much higher rating than that. I don't understand what AI is thinking right here, but Amy is still in the lead.
Or you can feel the frustration.
Truth bomb, definitely a 5. That's a clear failure on the city's part. Sticking to the agenda, a 5. It's about the agenda itself.
Calling out the bullshit, absolutely a 5. And overall resonance, a 5. This is why accessibility matters.
Wow, a perfect 24 for Joe. That's a tough one to beat.
The next commenter on item 4, just
So I'm wondering who is that? They're talking about Braille guy right there. That's who they're talking about. The guy that he's been requesting the Braille and they aren't accommodating him. Okay, so far we have Amy and Mona in this. Amy's winning. And then there's a bunch of random people.
just saying the disabled community isn't respected. Vibe check, a 3, straight to the point.
Truth bomb, a 4. Sadly true. Sticking to the agenda, a 5.
Calling out the
Uh-oh.
bullshit, a 3, just stating the facts. Overall resonance, a 4, it's a reminder we need to do better.
That's 19 total.
Whoa.
All right, the comment highlights Public Works Meeting 92124. Commenter who wants to hear the speaker first. Vibe check, a 3. Just making a suggestion.
Truth bomb,
Wait,
maybe a 3.
this one might be me because I think I focused on that a lot. Calling people or calling them out on making us speak before we hear what the presentation is. But then audit said that too. And there's several people. So I wish they the next one I do, I have to just list everyone's names and have them focus on people.
It's a procedural point, but an important one. Sticking to the agenda. I'd say a 4, it's about how the meetings run.
Agreed. Calling out the bullshit. Not really a 2. Overall resonance, a 3. Makes you think about the order of things.
15 total. The next one from 921 who also wants the speaker first. Vibe check, a 2, pretty low-key.
Truth bomb, a 2 as well. Sticking to the agenda, a 4. Calling out the bullshit, a 1. Overall resonance, a 2.
That's 11. Not bad, but not great.
The commenter who slammed the Bureau of Street Services for their ADA grant failures, vibe check, a 4. They were heated.
Yeah, truth bomb, I'd give him a 5. That waitlist is ridiculous if true. Sticking to the agenda, a 4, grants are part of it.
Calling out the bullshit, definitely a 5. Overall resonance, a 5. That feeling of being excluded is powerful.
123, tied with Amy for second place now.
The commenter demanding transparency on contractor certifications. Vibe check, a 3. Inquisitive but determined.
Truth bomb, a 4 for bringing up the possibility of misused funds. Sticking to the agenda, a 4, it's all about oversight.
Calling out the bullshit, a 3. They're suspicious but don't have all the facts. And overall resonance, a 3. Makes you wonder what's going on behind the scenes.
That's 17 total. Okay, the contentious Public Works Commission meeting commenter who got the warning. Vibe, a 5, definitely not backing down.
Truth bomb, I'd say a 3. It depends on whether their comments were truly relevant. Sticking to the agenda, tricky one, a 2 maybe? They were pushing the limits.
Calling out the bullshit, a 5, they're challenging the process itself. Overall resonance, a 4, highlights the tension between rules and public participation.
Ivan with the good communication tech comment, vibe check, a 4, upbeat and engaged.
Truth bomb, maybe a 3. Those concerns about losing parking are valid. Sticking to the agenda. A 4, talking about specific projects.
Calling out the bullshit, not really, a 2. Overall resonance, a 4. The Santa Monica comparison is thought-provoking.
That's 17. The commenter calling on the Army Corps of Engineers. Vibe check, a 3. Serious and concerned.
Truth bomb, I'd say a 4. It points to a potential gap in enforcement. Sticking to the agenda, a 3. Permits are under their purview.
Calling out the bullshit. A 3 for pointing the finger at a different agency. Overall resonance. A 3, it's a reminder that sometimes problems span multiple jurisdictions.
16 total. That ganja treated unfairly. Commenter, vibe check, a 4. Short and spicy.
Truth bomb. I'm going to say a 5 for that Scientology is running the city comment.
It's an opinion, but a powerful one.
Sticking to the agenda. It's tangentially related, so a 2. Calling out the bullshit. Definitely a 5.
And overall resonance, a 4. It sticks with you.
20 total. Public Works 113325. Just that. Right on, Yvonne. Shout out. Vibe check. A 5. Pure enthusiasm.
Truth bomb. Can't really judge that. A 1. Sticking to the agenda, a 1.
So I guess these commenters now are YouTube videos because they're just listing the title of the videos. So I don't think that one was about me. It was just one of the videos I used was audit uploaded when I was treated unfairly and they didn't call me. So just a recap, it's almost at the end. We have Amy in the lead. I'm going to say Mona's in second place because all these unnamed people, I don't see how they count. So let's see if Amy wins.
One as well.
Calling out the bullshit, not applicable, a 1. Overall resonance, a 3. It's a nice moment of camaraderie. That's 11 total.
Okay, the roller coaster, that was the Public Works 122 commenter. Vibe check, A5, they were all over the place.
Truth bomb, hard to say, A2. Sticking to the agenda. Started okay, then went off the rails, a 2.
Calling out the bullshit, definitely a 5 for that outfit, even if it's highly inappropriate. Overall resonance, A5, you won't forget that comment. 19 total, then the poetic one about the planters and rain. Vibe check, a 4, creative and different.
Truth bomb, I'd give him a 3. That imagery was effective. Sticking to the agenda, a 4. It's about a specific problem.
Calling out the bullshit, not really a 2. Overall resonance, a 4. It was memorable.
That's 17, Public Works 16, 18, 110 comments. The suggestion about fines going towards a settlement.
Vibe check, a 2. Just a quick thought.
Truth bomb, maybe a 3. It's a potential solution. Sticking to the agenda, a 4. It's relevant.
Calling out the bullshit, not really, a 1. Overall resonance, a 2. That's 12.
Public Works 11, 13 comments. Back to those planters. Vibe check, a 4. Exhaustion mixed with frustration.
Truth bomb, a 4 for highlighting the lack of action despite evidence. Sticking to the agenda, a 5. It's a major recurring theme.
Uh-oh, they're
Calling out
getting
the
high
bullshit,
scores.
a 3 for calling out the inaction.
Okay, good.
Overall resonance. R4, you feel their frustration.
That's 20 total. Mike Greenspan calling out the absent board member. Vibe check, a 5. He was not happy.
Truth bomb, a 4. That's a valid point about
No,
accountability.
Greenspan
Sticking to the
can't.
agenda, kinda a 3. Calling out the bullshit. Definitely a 4. And overall resonance, a 4.
No.
Highlights some systemic problems.
That's 20 for Mike. Amy's back. Vibe check, a 4. She's got a lot to say.
Okay, Amy gets 2 chances.
A 5 for those questions about Scientology's influence. Sticking to the agenda, it's loosely connected. A 2.
Calling out the bullshit, definitely a 5. And overall resonance, a 4 raises important questions about power dynamics.
20 total for Amy. Gigi's iPhone, vibe check, a 3.
Okay.
She's making a plea.
Truth bomb, I'd say a 3. It's about the process itself. Sticking to the agenda, a 4.
Calling out the bullshit, kinda a 3 for saying the new rules are morally wrong. Overall resonance. A3 is about fairness and participation.
That's 16. The last one from November 13th, asking for the planter removal. Vibe check, a 3. They just want a solution.
Truth bomb, I'd say a 2. It's a practical concern. Sticking to the agenda, a 4. It's about a tangible issue.
Calling out the bullshit, not really a 2. And overall resonance, a 3, highlights the need for follow through. That's 14 total.
All right. Public Works 11, 15, the stroller safety comment.
Yeah.
Vibe check, a 3. Expressing a legitimate concern.
Truth bomb, a 3. That connection to government efficiency is interesting. Sticking to the agenda, a 4. It's related to the project.
Calling out the bullshit. Not really. A 2. Overall resonance, a 3. It's about looking at things from a parent's perspective. That's 15.
Mona's back, being efficient this time. Vibe check, a 5. Positive and concise.
Truth bomb, can't really judge that. A 1. Sticking to the agenda, a 5. She's playing by the rules.
Calling out the bullshit, not applicable, a 1. Overall resonance, a 4. It's nice to see someone happy with the process. 16 total for Mona.
Edna Nyan and the slavery question, vibe check, a 4. Serious and important.
Truth bomb, I'd say a 5 for raising this ethical issue. Sticking to the agenda, a 3. It's about city contracts in general.
Calling out the bullshit, not exactly a 2, but overall resonance, a 5. This is about values. That's 19 total.
Audit lays back, correcting the board about Amy's comment. Vibe check, a 3. Helpful and observant.
Truth bomb, can't really say a 2. Sticking to the agenda, a 4. They're following the thread.
Calling out the bullshit. Kinda, a 3 for pointing out the misunderstanding. Overall resonance, a 3. It's about paying attention.
That's 15 total. Okay, Gigi's phone and the planters, back on the vengeance. Vibe check, a 5. She's had enough.
Truth bomb, a 4. That easement issue is a legal point. Sticking to the agenda, a 5. It's the saga that never ends.
Calling out the bullshit, definitely a 5. Overall resonance, a 5. You feel her anger.
24 for Gigi's phone, tied with Joe for the lead now. This is getting intense.
So
Wait.
a lack of community
Wait.
impact statement.
Amy, they're screwing you over. Somehow Braille guy had beat you, and now I'm tied with Braille Guy. The math didn't work for me. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought they said you had like 32 points or something, which if there's 5 categories and it's out of 5, that's not possible. But I thought you had like a really high, I don't know what happened. And Braille Guy's just like sneaking in. I'm glad he was gonna win, I guess. I'm glad I popped in. But
Vibe check of 4. He's asking some tough questions.
Truth bomb. A4, it's a valid point about community involvement. Sticking to the agenda, a 4.
Calling out the bullshit. A3, he's implying they're not doing their job. Overall resonance. A4, it highlights the importance of feedback.
Truth bomb. Hard to say, a 2. Sticking to the agenda, a 4, it's a broad city issue.
Calling out the bullshit. Not really. A 2, sticking to the agenda. A 4, it's a broad city issue.
Calling out the bullshit, not really, a 2. Overall resonance, a 3. Makes you think about the bigger picture.
14 total. Commenter who noticed building safety gets more compliance than anyone on the planter issue. Vibe check, a 3. Observational.
Truth bomb,
Mm.
A4, it's an interesting comparison.
this is
Sticking to
probably the
agenda,
last one.
It's a
Yvonne.
Sticking to the agenda. Definitely.
calling out the bullshit. A3, they're questioning the numbers. Overall resonance. A4, it's about responsible spending.
That's 20 for Yvonne.
All right, rapid fire round for these last few. Public doesn't works, 25-25, the latecomer. Vibe check, a 2, just there. Trick bomb, a 1, no time for that.
Sticking to the agenda, a 5. They followed the rules perfectly. Calling out the bullshit, a 1. Didn't get the chance. Overall resonance, a 2. It's something. 11 total.
Public works, 23-25, the mystery meter. Vibe check, a 3, intriguing but confusing. Truth bomb, can't judge that, a 1.
Sticking to the agenda, not really, a 2. Calling out the bullshit, a 1. Overall resonance, a 3. It's weirdly memorable. That's 10. Public works, 27. Ivan's back. Budget concerns. Vibe check, a 4. He's frustrated but persistent.
Truth bomb, a 3 for questioning those increases.
Stick.
That is very frustrating to me. Like, that didn't work out at all how I had planned. They didn't, it didn't mean anything. The points meant nothing. They didn't list specific people. I'm going to try to do one specifically on Amy right now. If that's okay with you. Amy, tell me if you don't want me to. But I'm going to say focus on public comments specifically made by Amy, aka Jojo. Okay, and then compliment and critique her comments. Give tips to improve. Oh, spell that right. Okay, and then go over what others can learn from her. Okay. And then mention okay. So it's gonna take probably like 5 minutes for this to go through. But yeah, like I need to update my sources on here. Like I said, I'm using like 50 different YouTube videos. And what's crazy is I can't use any live streams, even if they are replays. I can't use those for some reason. So I took all I could as far as actual like YouTube videos to add as sources. But I think I can do up to 300 sources. So I'm gonna update it, I don't know, next few days and add some more sources so I have the more current meetings. And there's also some meetings where they were grouped together and because Audit makes her videos, but she sometimes there's not a lot going on that day, but there's several meetings, just not a lot of people speaking. So she sometimes has like the commissions together and stuff like that. And I want to work on some of them that aren't just public works. Like I don't want my whole topic to just be public works. Like there's other stuff, other meetings and whatnot. Um, it's not an app, I don't think. It's a Google tool. It's like some type of Google AI. And I had to pay for it so that I could get more out of it. So it's not like free, but they do have a free version. It's called Notebook, I think. I don't know. Like I said, I'm blind right now without my glasses. I'm like squinting. Yeah, Notebook. And it's I'm just doing it from the website. I didn't download it or anything. It's still generating the conversation. But yeah, like you can add sources you can add documents. I can have it talk about the that 71-page report, that inspection thing, and that's a document. So you don't have to do like videos and audio. And I think you get, when you pay for, I forget how much I paid, but you get 300 sources in one notebook. And then you can also like chat to it and ask questions based on the sources. And there's like a lot you can do. But I really like going through and listening to the AI because, like I said, it's teaching me more about my comments. It's teaching me about comments in general. It's sort of putting spotlight on stuff that maybe I should, you know, improve on. Maybe I should, like, I don't know. They were saying that I don't like to stay on topic, that I jump around. But when you only have a minute to speak and there's so many topics, you have to jump around. So I want to work on putting notes in this one where it will already know what's going on with stuff. Like I don't have all the context there because they're just listening to the public comments. I want to maybe add documents that have to do like from a CPRA that have to do with what we were talking about, or I don't know. And I think it's just my tablet's taking forever to generate these because when I was doing this on my phone, it really only took like 2 minutes. And now it's just generating. And I don't know if you can see it in the camera, hopefully not, but like my head, like I'm following the circle and I feel like my head is just going in like circles right now. Like, and I'm trying not to, it's just, I'm getting freaking hypnotized from this generating conversation thing. But, yeah, hopefully they're going to listen. The AI is going to listen this time and it's going to focus on Amy. I think that, with different names, sometimes it might just go off of half of the comments. So I'm hoping that this includes all her comments, but I'm pretty sure it's going to say some stuff that Amy did not say. And it's going to say that she said it. I don't know who said it on the calls, but someone had told the commission one time that they were going to call Donald Trump on them. I never would have said that, but AI tried to say that I said that. So I don't know. It says, there's another one. I made one last night and they just say random words at one point that don't even go together and make weird noises. Like AI I don't know. In order to get videos that I post, I have to cut a lot of BS out of it. But I think I want to make like a bloopers reel or something. And does this one seem like it's taking longer? I feel like it is. Um, hmm. Yeah, it's just generating still. And I'm losing viewers as it's taken forever to generate. But it's whatever. Um, yeah, I want to get back to doing my songs as well, but it's just I have to be in a certain mode to be creative and write stuff in that way. And I don't know, I just haven't been feeling it lately. Plus I need to pay for the subscription for that because when I make songs, I'm a perfectionist and I have to like go through maybe 30 or 40 different versions of the music before I'm happy with it. And with the free version, within like 20 minutes I use my daily credits. So that's another thing. Once I get that taken, taxes should be here in like a couple weeks probably. So if I got that back, I don't know, my creative flow just hasn't been there. And it's still generating. I guess it wants to be um very knowledgeable about Amy and her comments before it just spits a podcast out. It doesn't want to like half ass it. Like the AI respects Amy, so it's gonna make oh no, it doesn't because it says there was an error. And then it says please try again. I don't know, my signal on this tablet just is not what it used to be. I think I used my data and I'm like getting throttled. But I don't know. Like I gotta try to figure out like it says loading conversation now. So does that mean that it's going to load the last thing I told it or do I gotta retype all that? I don't know. I'm gonna go to another notebook in the meantime and see what I have. Um let's see. Oh, this is I did do something on the inspection report that the 71 page CASP inspection. But I think I'm going to have the issue things just aren't wanting to load. Like the pages will load. I can go from different web pages, but it just doesn't want to load the conversation. Um, Maybe if I switch my data off and then back on, reset it. Okay. There was an error. I think if they got it, which they should, because, you know, it was directly sent to them. If you're talking about the commission, they should, but there's some people I just don't know about. I don't know anything about Kang or Kong or whatever his name is. Don't I don't know. All I know is that he shows up late all the time, or not necessarily late, but he's always the last one there. And then Mitchell, I think if Mitchell read it or got it, she would read through it. I think Grant, who is the pro tem, he would read through it. The vice president, Chavez, I think she would read through it, like she wouldn't put it off. And then Corson, he's the president. He has a lot on his plate. So I feel if anyone hasn't read it, it would be him or Kang or Kang or whatever his name is. Okay. So this is supposedly about the cast report.
Hey, deep divers, welcome back to another deep dive with yours truly.
And me.
All right, so we got this super interesting document you guys sent over. It's
kind of like a checklist for a few streets in East Hollywood, basically, seeing if they're easy to use for everyone.
yeah, especially for people with disabilities.
Right. Like, are the sidewalks and stuff a total buzzkill, or can everyone get around?
And we're talking like W Sunset Boulevard, L. Ron Hubbard Way, Fountain Avenue, and N. Catalina Street.
All in East Hollywood.
East Hollywood, baby.
So this checklist was done by a certified access specialist, a CASP. He's Tony Guichard, CASP pet number 1125.
And he works for a company called ACR Design Build.
Yeah.
This is back on February 27th, 2025.
2025.
So basically what we're going to do in this deep dive is like break down what this report found in a way that's like super easy to understand.
Yeah, even if you're like totally zoned out right
And
now.
we're just going to like point out the cool things the inspector noticed and maybe some not so cool things.
Yeah.
And like why this kind of report is important, because it's all about making sure everyone can like access public spaces.
That's right. Which is a good thing, right?
For sure.
Okay, so let's just jump right in and go through these findings street by street.
All right, first up, W Sunset Boulevard.
Sunset Strip, baby.
Finding number 1, exterior W Sunset BLVD finding.
Okay, so finding one on Sunset is all about those like bumpy strips you feel at the edge of curb ramps.
Yeah.
They're called detectable warnings, and they're there to let people who can't see so well know, hey, sidewalks ending, street starting.
Right.
And these things need to be like a solid 36 inches wide.
Yeah. Think of it like the landing strip for your cane or your guide dog's paws.
Yeah.
Needs to be a decent size, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
So the report says detectable warnings at curb ramps shall extend the full width of the curb ramp, excluding any flared side, and 36 inches in the direction of travel. Detectable warnings shall extend the full width of the turning space at the flush transition between the street and the sidewalk, less 2 inches maximum on each side.
Okay, so basically there are like specific rules about how wide these bumpy things should be. Right. It's like you wouldn't want your rolling papers to be all different widths, you know?
Yeah, you got to have that consistency.
Exactly.
Inconsistency is a buzzkill.
Totally.
Okay, so finding 2 on Sunset is about cross slopes. What's the deal with that?
So finding 2 says the accessible path of travel has cross slopes greater than 2%.
Okay, so imagine the sidewalk is like tilted to the side. Like if you tried to level your table after a few too many sodas.
Yeah.
like that.
If it's tilted too much more than a tiny bit, it can be really tough if you're in a wheelchair or have trouble keeping your balance.
Yeah, it's like trying to walk on a giant pizza that's like slightly slanted.
Not ideal.
Not ideal at all.
Oh,
Okay, finding 3 sounds like the sidewalk's got some like holes in its story.
it does. Finding 3, the route contains openings greater than 12 inch.
So we're talking like little cracks or holes in the sidewalk.
Right. And half an inch might not seem like a lot, but if you're using a cane or a walker or have smaller wheels, that can be a real problem.
Oh yeah, it's like trying to skateboard over a Lego minefield. Not gonna be a smooth ride. All right, finding 4 is about things not being flat. Where's the chill spot to just like hang out?
Right. So finding 4 says the clear floor space required at the element is not flat, 2% or 1.48 maximum slope in all directions.
Okay, so like if there's a spot where someone needs to stop, like in front of a door or a counter,
Yeah.
that spot should be like nice and flat.
Right. No more than a tiny little slope.
Otherwise, it's like trying to chill in a hammock that keeps tipping you out.
Exactly. Got to have that stable equilibrium.
Preach, man. Okay, Sunset finding 5 is about a transaction counter. What's going on there?
Finding 5, the transaction counter provides for a parallel approach and is not within the required height range.
Okay, so right here they're talking about the food truck that is on Sunset. And the inspector said since he was there, he was just going to throw that in as like a bonus or whatever. So a few of these are about the food truck.
So picture like trying to buy something while you're sitting in a wheelchair.
Right.
There are rules about how high and wide that counter should be so you can like roll right up and do your thing.
Yeah, if it's too high or too narrow, it's like trying to pay for your munchies while doing a handstand.
Yeah, that's like awkward level infinity. Got to make sure everyone can like comfortably exchange their cash for the good stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, finding 6 is about a food order window being too high.
Right.
That's a serious impediment to snack acquisition.
Finding 6 says the order and receiving food window is positioned too high for either a side or front approach.
So if you're rolling up, there's a maximum height you should have to reach to order or grab your food.
Yeah, if the window's way up there, it's like trying to catch a cloud when all you want is a churro.
Churro accessibility is a fundamental right, man.
I agree.
Finding 7 brings up a food truck.
Oh, yeah.
Do those mobile munchie dispensaries have to follow the rules too?
Absolutely. Finding 7 is pretty clear on that. The food truck is serving the public, therefore, it must comply with accessibility. Even Trialis, as the manager said, the city gave them permission to be there.
Interesting.
So if you're slinging snacks to the masses, you got to make sure everyone can get their hands on them.
Yeah, it's like saying,
And I want to point out that if you look at the report and you look at the pictures taken, that food truck is parked in the red zone. Like most of it is not in the red zone, but part of it is in the red zone in those pictures on there. And I just find it weird that parking enforcement does not mess with that food truck at all. Like, it's been there for a while at this point. I don't know. Like, why were they targeting a specific person for their vehicle and their parking? It's kind of shady. Okay, the food truck is like a big green food truck, and like, I don't know, I don't pay too much attention, but I feel like it has like an ice thing in it where it has just tons of bottled drinks. And I think MD buys Red Bull from there. I think I've seen him buy Red Bull. But I don't know if it's like a food truck where it has a kitchen. It might. But it's parked right by their parking lot on Sunset. And like I said, it's, as far as I know, it's not affiliated with the Church of Scientology or anything like that. But I'm just pointing that out because there's a picture of them parked in the red, and they are not getting enforced like we've seen them enforce, DOA and his RV, or even other people, like Zach. Okay, Zach got that parking ticket. No one else got a parking ticket on that street. They came right at him. That to me is weird. That people that are, involved with speaking out about Scientology in one way or another, they're getting targeted. And this food truck is parked in the red. Just partially, but still. I've seen them tell DOA that, oh, you are an inch in the red. Like, it's really double standards and it's targeted.
saying everyone deserves a slice of pizza no matter how they roll.
Equal opportunity for food coma.
Okay, finding 8 is back to bumpy walkways. What's the deal this time?
Finding 8. The walkway contains abrupt vertical edges and or variations over 14-inch.
So think like little lips or bumps on the sidewalk, even if they're tiny.
Right, and that might not seem like much, but if you're using a cane or have trouble walking, that can be a tripping hazard.
Yeah, sneaky sidewalk ninjas trying to trip you up.
Exactly.
Okay, finding 9 is about curb ramp warnings. Again, different spot, same story.
Looks like finding 9 is basically the same as finding 1.
Okay,
Those detectable warnings need to be the right size.
so consistency is key.
Yeah, even with the bumps that warn you about no more bumps.
Right, and finally for Sunset, finding 10 is about the top of a curb ramp not being level. Why does that matter?
So finding 10, the top landing for the curb ramp is not level and exceeds a 2% slope.
So imagine you just rolled up a ramp. You need a flat spot to stop and get onto the sidewalk safely.
Right. If the top is still sloped, it's like getting to the top of a hill and still feeling like you're rolling backwards.
Yeah, that chill landing zone. Okay, Sunset's had its ups and downs. Let's move on to L. Ron Hubbard Way.
Okay, finding 11 is about with not enough space to flow.
Yeah, what's the deal there?
Finding 11 says the route of travel does not provide the required minimum width. The minimum clear width for sidewalks and walks is 48 inches.
48 inches.
Yeah, sometimes it can be a little less, but you generally need a good amount of space to walk or roll comfortably.
Right.
This finding mentions planter boxes taking up the whole sidewalk without a clear path.
Okay, so now we're getting into the planters. And I want to point out, disclaimer again, this is AI. I did not go through on this one and fact check everything they're saying. I listened to the beginning part, but I have not heard this part yet. So I don't know if all the facts are correct, but of course they're correct in the printed document, the 71-page report. So that's the ultimate fact checker with this, but I love how they're breaking it down. And even though some parts of it are just like measurements and it's kind of getting boring here and there, it's easy to digest it the way that they're doing it. Like, that's what I love about this AI. It can put it in simpler terms so that people can understand.
Planter boxes, man, those things are harshing the mellow of sidewalk travel.
They can be.
Finding 12 continues with the planter box drama, talking about drop-offs. What's going on there?
Finding 12, the planter boxes are too high and close to the curb if a disabled person wants to be dropped off.
So think about trying to get out of a car if there's like a huge planter right there.
Right. Not much room to maneuver, especially if you need extra space for your gear.
Yeah, those high planters sound like a real obstacle course for getting in and out of a ride. Right. Finding 13 gets interesting. We're talking private parking signs.
Yeah, Finding 13 signs state this is private parking. But here's the thing, even though it's private, if they're open to new members, like the report mentions for the Church of Scientology, there needs to be a way for everyone to get there.
Right.
And there's no accessible parking or path from the sidewalk to the entrance.
So it's like saying welcome, but also not welcome.
Kind of.
Finding 14 talks about the width of L. Ron Hubbard Way and parking possibilities.
Right. So Finding 14 notes that the street seems wide enough for public parking, but there are no parking signs that don't look official. So it suggests the city might want to consider adding accessible parking or making it a one-way street with parking on both sides, like N Catalina.
That could be a real game changer for getting around there.
For sure.
Finding 15 is pretty direct. No access from the street or sidewalk.
Yeah, Finding 15, there is no access from the city street or city sidewalk for access. Says if someone wants to inquire about membership, there's just no way to even get to the entrance if you can't park there.
That's like a locked door on your cosmic journey, man.
It is.
Okay, Finding 16 reiterates the lack of accessible drop-off.
Right. Finding 16, no access from the city parking or drop-off, recommends that even if it's private for public events, it needs to be accessible.
Right.
Bring the property, street parking, and sidewalk into compliance.
Public events should mean public access.
Yeah,
Makes sense in the grand scheme of things.
totally.
And Finding 17 on L. Ron Hubbard Way is about a sign being too low.
Watch your head.
Literally Finding 17. The sign is mounted too low. Signs need to be high enough so people don't bump their heads. Nobody wants a surprise concussion on their spiritual quest. All right. Let's move on to Fountain Avenue. Finding 18 sounds like more planter box pandemonium.
Pretty much the same story of Finding 18. The planter boxes are too high and too close to the curb, making it hard to get in and out of cars, and there's not enough walkway space.
It's like these overgrown green guardians are causing some serious sidewalk strife.
Yeah.
Okay, Finding 19 is back to bumpy walkways on Fountain Avenue.
Yep, Finding 19 is the same old uneven surface issue.
Little bumps and edges that can trip you up.
Right.
Those sneaky sidewalk imperfections always causing trouble. Okay, Finding 20 says the sidewalk doesn't follow the street slope.
Right. Finding 20, the sidewalk doesn't follow the natural hill of the street. Ideally, it should be a smooth transition. If it's not, you can get unexpectedly steep or flat sections, which can be awkward to navigate.
So unexpected hills and valleys on the sidewalk.
Yeah,
Not a chill vibe.
not at all.
Finding 21 is about curb ramp warnings again on Fountain Avenue.
Yep. Finding 21, another instance of those detectable warnings not being the right size.
The consistency or art thou detectable warnings.
Right.
Okay. And Finding 22 on Fountain Avenue is about a sloped ramp landing.
Right.
We've been here before, haven't we?
We have Finding 22. The landing as top of the ramp is too sloped. Needs to be more level for a safe and smooth transition.
Okay, so Fountain Avenue has its own share of sidewalk surprises. Last stop on our accessibility odyssey and Catalina Street.
All right.
Finding 23 talks about loose plants and ground stuff. Sounds like nature's trying to reclaim the sidewalk.
It does. Finding 23. The sidewalk has loose plants and stuff on the ground, making it unstable and slippery. Mentions thorny rose bushes specifically as being a pain to get around.
Thorny bushes, that's like a sidewalk with built-in hazards, man.
It is.
Okay, Finding 24 on N Catalina is about cross slopes again.
Yep. Finding 24 is the tilted sidewalk issue again, can make it hard to keep your balance.
Sideways slopes, another recurring theme in our sidewalk saga.
It seems like it.
Finding 25 is back to those abrupt vertical edges.
Exactly. Finding 25 more little bumps and lips on the walkway that can trip you up.
You could practically write a song about all these sidewalk trip hazards.
Yeah.
Finding 26 talks about private parking needing to be accessible for public events.
Just like on L. Ron Hubbard Way, Finding 26 says, even if it's private parking, if they're having a public event, it needs to be accessible.
Got to make sure the Cosmic Party is open to everyone.
Right.
Okay, Finding 27 on N. Catalina is about not enough walkway width.
Just like before Finding 27, the sidewalk isn't wide enough for a comfortable stroll or roll.
So like squeezing through sidewalks is another common challenge.
Yeah.
And finally, Finding 28 on N. Catalina brings us back to those thorny rose bushes.
Yep. Finding 28, those prickly plants are blocking the way and need to be swapped out for something lower and less stabby.
So watch out for the roses on N. Catalina. Okay, so this report also mentions some tax stuff and timelines for fixing things. Should we get into that?
I think for this dive, we can just acknowledge that stuff is there. It's more about future plans than what's happening right now.
Okay, cool. What about this legal sounding notice for property owners?
Basically, it's a heads up to keep this report handy in case of any legal stuff related to accessibility.
Right.
It could help pause things and get people talking about solutions.
So like a peace out, but be prepared note. And the report ends by saying, it was inspected by a certified dude, but that doesn't mean everything's perfect.
Right.
The owner gets to figure out when to fix things.
Exactly. It's a snapshot of what was observed, and the responsibility to make things accessible is on the property owner.
All right, so we've cruised through all the sidewalk situations. What's the big picture, man?
The big picture is this report gives us a detailed look at how easy it is for everyone to use these streets in East Hollywood right now.
Right.
And it points out a bunch of spots that could be smoother for people with disabilities, from bumpy sidewalks to overgrown plants and hard to reach counters.
Yeah, and even though some of these things might seem small, like a tiny bump or not quite wide enough walkway, they can be a huge hassle for someone just trying to get around and do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about making the sidewalk a welcoming space for everyone you know.
Totally.
Like a good smoke circle, everyone's invited.
Exactly.
And it makes you wonder what other everyday spaces could use this kind of accessibility check. Maybe it'll spark some thoughts as you're out and about in your own neighborhood.
Yeah, for sure. Food for thought.
Or maybe just regular thoughts.
Right.
All right, deep divers, that's all the time we have for this deep dive. Catch you on the next one.
Stay elevated.
Okay, so that one sort of had like the stoner vibe to it. Let me see if the Amy thing loaded on the other one. That's the one I really wanted to hear. And then I think I'm gonna be done. I do have real life to get to. Gotta go work. Yeah. But it seemed to load faster. Okay. It's 14 minutes. I think this is about Amy.
Okay, so you just heard Amy,
Yeah.
also known as the Jill Jill,
Mhm.
at a public works meeting, making a pretty pointed statement,
Yeah.
ending with her signature bye.
Yes.
For today's deep dive, we've gone through a
Oh.
lot of transcripts from
Yeah.
August 2024 to February 2025.
Wow.
And they all detail Amy's public comments at these LA
Oh.
Public Works Commission meetings.
Interesting.
It's like a direct line
Mhm.
to understanding how local government is
Yeah.
being discussed and how it's
Sure.
at times being challenged.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at the specific issues
Okay.
that
Yeah.
she brings up, how she gets her points across,
Mhm.
and what we can learn from her persistent engagement with this.
Okay.
Are you ready to dive in?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think what's fascinating right away is just the consistency
Yeah.
of Amy's engagement. Like looking at months of these meetings, there
Yeah.
are these recurring themes
Mhm.
and this like sustained effort
Yeah.
to highlight very specific issues, right? And it really gives us a very unique perspective on how a concerned citizen
Mhm.
can actually interact with
Right.
local government over time.
It's true. And as you go through the transcripts,
Yeah.
you start to see these recurring themes
Oh, yeah.
pop up again and again.
Absolutely.
And there are a few key areas
Uh-huh.
that she is laser focused on.
Uh-huh.
You can't miss them. It's hard to miss them.
Right.
The planters
Yeah.
on L. Ron Hubbard Way and Fountain Avenue
Mm.
come up constantly.
The planters, yes.
Yeah.
A central concern for Amy. She repeatedly brings up this issue
Mm.
of ADA compliance
Right.
and really emphasizing that these planters are obstructing access for people with disabilities, including anyone who's using a wheelchair.
Exactly.
She also points out that they're narrowing pedestrian walkways
Mhm.
and that they could even impede emergency vehicles.
Yeah.
In one meeting, she even talks about an incident where a visually impaired person almost fell because of a planter,
Wow.
highlighting the potential safety risk
hmm
and the city's liability.
Yeah. And for our listeners who might not be super familiar with
Yeah.
ADA,
Yes.
the Americans with Disabilities Act,
Right.
has specific requirements
Oh, yeah,
for accessible public spaces.
exactly.
So that includes, minimum widths for walkways
Mhm.
to make sure there's clear passage.
Right.
And Amy's argument is
Yeah.
that these planters just don't meet those requirements.
They don't meet those requirements.
And it's not just a couple of planters.
No, not at all.
He mentions a specific number.
Yeah.
It's a large number.
A large.
251, I believe.
251.
And they've been there for a long time.
Oh, yeah, across multiple months.
Yeah.
You can really sense her frustration
Yeah.
in these transcripts
Oh, yeah.
about the seeming lack of action.
Yeah.
Especially because she brings up
Yeah.
the city supposedly instructing that these planters be removed.
Mhm.
So why the delay?
That's the question.
Yeah.
And it leads us into her second big concern,
Okay.
which is what she sees
Mm,
as the undue influence of the Church of Scientology.
right.
Amy frequently brings up questions about
Mm.
the level of influence
Yeah.
that she believes the church has
Okay.
over the Public Works Commission.
Interesting.
And she suggests that
Yeah.
they seem to be able to
Oh.
navigate around or bypass regulations
Okay.
that other entities have to follow.
Gotcha.
She does not hold back on this point.
No, she doesn't.
You see her asking why Scientology seems to be treated differently
Hmm.
when it comes to permits,
Right.
the removal of encampments,
Hmm.
and even street closures
Okay.
on L. Ron Hubbard Way,
Right.
a street that she mentions quite often.
Interesting.
She even uses really strong terms like cult
Oh.
and brings up their tax exempt status.
Yeah.
It's really direct commentary,
It is direct.
and it raises a question.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
about fairness, doesn't it? Absolutely. About whether city regulations are being applied equally.
When a citizen feels like there's a double standard,
Yeah.
it naturally brings up concerns
Right.
about, just basic fairness
Hmm.
and transparency in government.
And then we have ADA compliance.
Yeah.
Which comes up in so many of her comments,
Mhm.
especially in relation to these planters. But it goes beyond that too, right?
It does.
She's talked about her own experiences
Yeah.
of not being able to be dropped off
Uh-huh.
by paratransit vehicles
Wow.
because
Okay. And see, just as audit's saying that they're doing good, they're misquoting, they're attributing something that audit said to Amy. But let's just roll with it.
of accessibility problems.
So for Amy, compliance
Yeah.
isn't just about, following the law.
Hmm.
It's about her ability to actually live her life,
Right.
to get around
Yeah.
to participate in her community.
Exactly.
And her lived experience just adds this whole other
Yeah.
really powerful dimension to her
But-
advocacy.
and then there are these street closures
Right.
on L. Ron Hubbard Way.
Yeah. She's always asking about the permits
Mhm.
for these closures,
Right.
which seem to happen a lot.
Uh-huh.
And they go on for a while.
Okay.
There's a real sense of suspicion in her voice.
Yeah.
A worry that these closures
Mhm.
could be what she calls a de facto street vacation
Interesting.
without any real public input or process.
That sounds again like a audit comment, but still, let's just roll with it. Like Amy might have said that. I don't know if you did. I know you've talked about the street vacation, but the de facto street vacation, audit was the one that was kind of. But let's roll with it.
So just to clarify for our listeners,
Yeah.
when she says de facto street vacation, what she's getting at is that a public street is being essentially closed off.
Right.
For a really long time, or maybe even indefinitely,
Yeah.
without going through the proper legal steps
Right.
to officially vacate that public right of way.
It's like they're doing an end run around the process,
Right, exactly.
and she's calling them out on it.
Yeah,
And her questions about the permits,
yeah.
they really show that she wants more transparency.
Right, right.
I mean, if a street's constantly being closed off,
Yeah,
people who live there want to know why. They want to know how long it's going to last
Uh-huh.
and if the city's following the rules.
Absolutely.
She also brings up these community impact statements.
Yes.
She asks for them on a bunch of different projects
Okay.
and questions how the city's actually engaging with the public.
It seems like she really wants more opportunities for community input
Yeah.
in these local decisions.
She wants people to have a voice.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered
Yeah.
the main issues that Amy consistently brings up.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's talk about how she does it.
Okay.
What stands out to you
Mm-hmm.
about her approach?
Well, first of all, her persistence is really remarkable.
Yeah.
I mean, she shows up for months and months
Across so many meetings.
to all these different meetings,
It's impressive.
talking about the same core issues.
Yeah.
I mean, that shows dedication.
Yeah, you can't deny her dedication.
No.
She keeps coming back and making her voice heard.
Yeah. And it shows.
It shows that these aren't just, passing thoughts for her.
No, these are deeply held concerns.
Yeah,
And another thing is her focus on concrete issues.
right.
Like the planters, for example.
Yeah.
They're a very tangible thing that people can see and understand.
Right.
By focusing on these specific objects and these specific situations,
Yeah.
she makes her concerns
Mm.
much more relatable
Right.
and much harder to ignore
It's not just
than if she were just talking about vague generalities.
some general dissatisfaction.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
she's pointing to something and saying,
Yeah.
this is the problem.
This needs to change.
Fix this.
Exactly.
And the questions she asks are important.
Okay, yeah.
Like about ADA compliance,
Mhm.
about whether regulations are being enforced fairly,
Yeah.
about transparency in the permitting process.
Right.
Those are all valid questions.
Absolutely. They deserve attention.
Yeah, it's not just complaining.
Yeah.
It's about
It's about fundamental principles
Yeah.
of fairness and accessibility
and good governance.
and good governance. Exactly.
And you get the sense that she's not just speaking for herself.
No,
She's often advocating
she's advocating for a whole community,
for other people.
especially the disabled community.
Yeah.
Her focus on accessibility really shows that
You can tell
she's concerned about people.
that she's not just thinking about herself.
Yeah.
Okay, so her passion's clear,
Hmm.
her persistence is undeniable.
Right.
But are there things about her approach
Uh-huh.
that maybe aren't as effective
Yeah, that's a good question.
or could be done differently?
Well, one thing that stands out is the repetition.
Yeah.
I mean, her consistency is great,
It's great.
but saying the same things over and over,
Mm.
meeting after meeting,
Yeah.
could make her message less impactful.
It's like it could become
Background noise.
background noise.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing, right?
Yeah.
How do you keep the pressure on
How do you keep
without people tuning you out?
the issue alive?
Yeah.
Without becoming repetitive.
And then there's the strong language,
Right.
the accusations,
Mm-hmm.
especially about the Church of Scientology.
Yeah.
It's understandable that she's frustrated,
Oh, absolutely.
but that kind of language,
It can be alienating.
those accusations, without
Yeah.
specific evidence,
Right.
might make the commissioners less likely to listen.
It's hard to hear something
They-
when they're that angry.
You're so focused on being angry
Yeah,
that they're not hearing your message.
it's true.
And sometimes she seems to be speculating
Yeah.
about people's motives or
Yeah.
why things are happening
Mhm.
instead of sticking to what she can actually observe,
Right.
like saying that Scientology have all this power.
Yeah.
That might be what she believes,
It might be
but it's different
Right.
from presenting it as a fact.
a fact.
So let's say we were giving Amy some tips
Yeah.
for improvement,
Yeah.
knowing that she's not exactly asking us for advice.
Right.
What would you suggest?
Well, I think being strategic about timing is important.
Okay.
Like she could focus her comments
Yeah.
more on the specific agenda items
Right.
as they come up.
So instead of just a general comment at every single meeting,
She could really tailor her remarks
right?
to what's being discussed.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That way,
It would make her comments
I mean-
feel more relevant.
more relevant and timely.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Another thing is to balance the repetition
Okay.
with new information.
Right.
Like keep hitting those key points.
Yeah. Keep them on the radar.
But maybe also bring in new angles,
Mhm.
new examples,
Mhm.
new updates,
That would show
things that show that
that she's paying attention,
Yeah.
that the issue's still alive.
she's really engaged.
Exactly.
And maybe focus more on the facts,
Okay.
like specific ADA violations,
Right.
maybe even photos if she has them.
Mhm.
We didn't see any in the transcripts.
Right.
But if she has them, she could bring them
That would be powerful.
or documented cases of obstruction
Yeah.
and really explain how it affects people,
Right.
facts and consequences.
Oh, they're
Those could be really persuasive.
powerful tools.
Okay, so For our listeners out there who might be thinking about getting involved with their own local government,
Okay.
what can we learn
Uh-huh.
from Amy's approach?
Well, one of the biggest things is just to be consistent.
Yeah,
Amy shows us what happens when you show up regularly
right.
and make your voice heard over time.
You might not see immediate changes,
You might not.
but that persistent presence
It keeps the issue make a difference.
on the agenda,
It can make a difference.
it keeps it in the minds of the people who matter.
So if you're thinking about speaking up
Yeah,
at a public meeting, Amy shows you
Amy's a good example.
that showing up consistently can be really powerful.
Shows the change.
Yeah,
Often takes time and effort.
it does.
Another thing is to be specific.
Right. Be specific.
Amy focuses on concrete issues.
Mhm.
She gives clear examples.
Yeah,
And that makes it much easier
it makes it easier
for officials to understand the problem.
for them to understand and to actually address it.
It's not just like,
Yeah.
things are bad.
Right.
It's this specific thing
The specific
is causing this specific problem.
is a problem, and this is why.
Yeah.
And that's much more effective.
And she's also a good example
Yeah.
of advocating for people who aren't always heard,
Right.
especially the disabled community.
She's bringing attention.
She's bringing
Patient
attention
needs and
to things that might otherwise be ignored.
that other people might not even be aware of.
It's a reminder that public comment
Yeah.
can be a way to represent
It can be a way to represent
the needs of a whole community.
those diverse voices.
And by asking questions,
Yeah.
by pushing for explanations,
Mhm.
Amy's helping to keep the government accountable.
Right.
It's not just about stating your opinion.
Yeah. It's about
It's about making sure that things are being done right.
and accountability.
And ultimately,
Hey.
Amy shows us the power of public comment.
Absolutely.
It's how regular people can
Okay.
participate in government and try to make a
I
difference.
try to make a difference.
Oh, and before we wrap up,
Yeah.
we have to mention one more thing
What's that?
that Amy's known for
Oh yeah.
her signature sign off,
The bye.
the bye
Every
at
time.
the end of every comment.
It's become her trademark.
It's become like her whole catchphrase. Okay, so to sum up our deep dive
Mhm.
into Amy's public comments,
Okay.
she's a consistent advocate for ADA compliance
Yeah.
and against what she sees as undue influence,
Right.
especially from the Church of Scientology.
Hmm.
Her persistence is admirable,
It is.
and she's great at focusing on specific,
Yeah.
tangible
those
issues.
are great strengths.
But maybe there are some things she could tweak,
Maybe
like the repetition and the tone.
the tone could be something to consider.
And there are definitely lessons we can learn
Oh yeah.
from her engagement,
It's
like the importance of showing up consistently
Mm.
and being specific about your concerns.
Be specific.
It's really interesting
It is.
how one person's engagement,
Yeah.
with all its ups and downs,
Right.
can give us so much insight
Such insight.
into how public participation works.
It makes you think about
It makes you think about.
the relationship between citizens and their government and
Yeah.
all the ways that
Yeah.
people can try to make a difference.
So for you, the listener,
Yeah.
think about this.
Okay.
What does Amy's story tell us
Mm.
about the challenges
Great.
and the importance
Yeah.
of getting involved
The civic engagement.
with local government?
It's so important.
How do you think people can make a difference?
Yeah. How can you
Whether it's through
make your voice heard?
strong emotion
Right.
or meticulous detail.
However you choose to do it.
It's something to think about.
It is.
Thanks for joining us
You got it.
for this deep dive
It was a pleasure.
into this really unique example
Yeah.
of civic engagement.
A really unique example. Bye.
Okay. That was a good one, Amy. They did good for you. And that ending, I'm gonna save that audio. I'm gonna cut that into some smaller clips. But that bye at the end, that was awesome. Okay, so there were some like fails, but there were some good ones too. And I got another half hour. I'm gonna try another one. Let me see. What can we try focusing on with this one? Like the planters would be the easiest thing, but the planters are gone. The street vacation, there's not enough source material I need to update and add more sources. Let me just try to see. Focus on public commenters. Okay, and then I'll be specific. Focus on audit LA. Focus on Amy, aka Joe. Got a period. Okay. Focus on G, aka Ganja Girl, aka GG. Okay. And then focus on Miriam, aka Mirjam, aka Muriel. Period. Who am I missing? Mona. Focus on Mona. Focus on Yvonne. Who am I missing on this one? Juju. Well, that's gonna get confused with Jill. I think that's good for now because I only have 500 characters. Let's say focus on. I know there's too many for Henry. I'd have to list off. I would use all my characters trying to add him on that one. Focus on. Oh, Lara's on one of these things, I think. So focus on Lara. Focus on Nora. And then do in a fun tone anti-Scientology tone. And then let's see if I can do the stoner thing on this. Audience is stoners. Okay. Do in a fun tone. And then generate. Oh, Nisa. Yeah, she's on some of those. Okay. Oh, yeah, I don't want to forget about her. And then there's also, but Shirkai has all those other names. That makes it really hard to, is the word extrapolate? I don't know, or extract. It's hard to find them when they use different names. Oh, hold on. I think that is very important. That's a good idea. Oh, yeah, antics, but with antics, the sources only go through to somewhere in February, and I feel like antics might have started. My hair's getting a mess. Antics started maybe the beginning of March. Yes. Anything like that is always good. And that's something that people need to understand. Like, you don't have to go out there and be boots on the ground protesting. You don't have to call into meetings. There's so many other things you can do. You find something that you're good at, that you enjoy doing, that's your talent or whatever, and any little thing helps. Okay, it's still generating this, but we saw earlier it took a while to generate. And I had it focus on like a zillion things. Right? She has a reason, but in my eyes, everyone has a reason to be loud. Protest is protected, and you're allowed to people the government can't silence your voice and say that you can't be protesting. I don't know. But okay. So this new podcast just downloaded, 20 minutes long. Perfect time because I gotta be out of here at 5 my time. So let's see what this one does.
Okay, so this the commission meetings. You are some seriously interesting feedback. Let's just say it's not your typical polite, civic discourse.
Not quite.
We're talking full-on truth bombs from the public commenters. They're demanding action, and judging by the transcripts we dug up, they are definitely not holding back when it comes to a certain church and their, shall we say, interesting taste in sidewalk decorations.
That's one way to put it.
Right. The transcripts you sent me from this YouTube channel, Audit LA, it's like a window into like local democracy.
Yeah.
But way more entertaining, especially when it comes to the Church of Scientology.
Yeah, there's definitely some spirited debate going on there.
Spirited's a good word. So we're diving deep dive style into these public comments. Our mission, if we choose to accept it, and we absolutely do, is to figure out what are the big things people keep bringing up. Who are these passionate folks behind the microphones? And honestly, just revel in the vibrant discussions happening around the Church of Scientology and the whole Audit LA crew, especially some of the regulars who always show up and speak their minds.
It's like a who's who of passionate citizens.
Exactly. And we want to figure out, what are they so concerned about? Who are these people? And ultimately, what does all of this tell us about
I can't pause it.
the local government, and this very prominent organization?
Okay, pause. No, it won't let me pause. But disclaimer, there is no group called Audit LA or Audit LA's crew. Audit LA is an individual, and there is no group called Audit LA. That is total defamation when people say that. But this is an AI. So I guess we just, I don't know. Let me figure out, my thing's freezing. Let me get back to it. I ran out of space on my tablet. So I have to delete something so it has running memory. Hold on. Because it froze. I can't even pause it right now. Okay. That had to have been enough. If not, okay. So I don't know where we were, but we were somewhere at the beginning.
Scientology and the whole Audit LA crew, especially some of the regulars who always show up and speak their minds.
It's like a who's who of passionate citizens.
Exactly. And we want to figure out what are they so concerned about? Who are these people? And ultimately, what does all of this tell us about the public, the local government, and this very prominent organization, the Church of Scientology?
It's a fascinating dynamic.
Total power dynamics at play. Think of us as your tour guides through this whole thing. We went through the transcripts, picked out the best parts, tried to make sense of it all so you don't have to. Getting the inside scoop on the most interesting drama at your local council meeting, but with way more alleged cult activity.
It's a wild ride.
Seriously wild. And for you, dear listener, this whole deep dive is about understanding this little slice of LA's local government and how people get to participate, especially when it intersects with the Church of Scientology, which is always under scrutiny.
Yeah.
You were curious about this, and we are here to connect the dots. So buckle up. Let's kick things off with what seems to be the never-ending saga down on L. Ron Hubbard Way. The legendary planter situation.
Ah, yes, the planters.
The planters.
They're quite the fixture.
Fixture is a good word. On L. Ron Hubbard Way and Fountain Avenue, right around the Church of Scientology. And they seem to be a major point of contention for a lot of these public commenters. Seriously, it's like they're public enemy number one in the world of sidewalk obstructions. And we're not talking about the couple of, cute flower pots here. One commenter from Audit LA actually counted, wait for it, 251 of these things.
Wow, that's a lot of planters.
Right, it's like a botanical blockade.
It sounds like it.
And the concerns about them, they're all over the place. But the one we see popping up the most, especially from commenters like Mona Gigi, who, by the way, is also referred to as Ganja Girl in the transcripts.
Which is amazing.
Right. Tells you a little something about the vibe of these meetings.
Definitely sets the scene.
Anyway, they, along with Audit LA, are super concerned about these planters not complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. The one that says everyone should have accessible pathways.
Right. Equal access for everyone.
Exactly. And we even heard from Amy, who was calling in as caller under Audit LA, describing this close call where someone who's visually impaired almost tripped and fell right into one of these planters.
Oof, that's scary.
Seriously, it makes you realize these aren't just like, aesthetic disagreements. These planters are potential hazards.
Absolutely. And not just tripping hazards either. There are concerns about adequate space for wheelchair users, the safety and accessibility for paratransit vehicles trying to drop off passengers.
Right, people actually getting to where they need to go.
Yeah, exactly. And these are serious accessibility problems that keep coming up again and again in these comments. Mona actually mentioned how the planters prevent her from being safely loaded and unloaded from her paratransit vehicle. And she specifically mentioned, potential violations of Department of Justice and ADA guidelines.
She didn't mess around.
Not at all. And it goes beyond sidewalk space too. Audit LA and Mona, they've both pointed out that these planters are also blocking emergency lanes. Mona even linked this to fire safety and access to Kaiser Permanente.
Oh, wow, that's serious.
Yeah, she's raising the alarm about, what if emergency services can't get through because of these planters? Especially with all the road closures they talk about, too. It makes you wonder, has anyone even thought about these what-if scenarios?
Right, like the big one.
Exactly. And then there's the sheer size and weight of these planters. Some people are saying they're actually damaging the sidewalks. Audit LA specifically mentioned a visible sinking of the sidewalk on Fountain Avenue, and they're blaming it directly on the weight of these planters.
It's like they planted a tree, but it's a concrete tree.
A very heavy concrete tree.
Okay, so here's where it gets interesting. Digging into let's call it the symbolic shade of it all. Mona sees these planters as a deliberate move by the Church of Scientology, like they're trying to distract from First Amendment rights. And she even brought up some heavy stuff like alleged abuses within the church, things like auditing ethics, which I guess is their internal code of conduct, and get this, child abuse.
Wow, that's a serious accusation.
Yeah. It's like she's saying they're using these planters to block people from protesting and speaking out against what she sees as, really messed up stuff happening within the church.
It's like a physical barrier to dissent.
Exactly. And she doesn't hold back, straight up calling them the cult of Scientology in her comments.
Making her stance very clear.
Crystal clear. And it's not just the giant planters themselves. Audit LA also pointed out that they've planted rose bushes, thorny rose bushes, in the public easement. I mean, come on, Thorny. It's like an obstacle course for anyone trying to walk there, especially anyone with, mobility issues.
It does seem like an intentional deterrent.
Right. And the general feeling from these commenters is that the city's dropping the ball. They're not enforcing their own rules and regulations. And there's this strong perception that the Church of Scientology is getting special treatment. They're allowed to just keep these planters there, even though they seem to be breaking the rules. It makes you wonder, why? Why not just make them move the darn things?
Right. What's the hesitation?
We heard a bunch of mentions about unanswered emails, ignored CPR requests as city project requests, basically a formal way to ask the city to do something. And it's all about these planters. It sounds like getting information from the city is like pulling teeth.
Like a bureaucratic black hole.
Totally.
Yeah.
And get this, Audit LA even brought up a story where a city employee basically told someone to go to the Church of Scientology to get permits because it would be cheaper.
Seriously?
Yeah. I mean, if that's true, that raises some serious red flags. Are we talking about conflicts of interest here? Is there some kind of shady dealing happening. It makes you wonder who's really calling the shots in this city.
Who's pulling the strings?
Exactly. So this is not just some neighborhood squabble about overgrown bushes, right? We're talking about potential safety hazards, violations of accessibility laws, and serious questions about whether the city is playing favorites, especially when it comes to a powerful and controversial organization like the Church of Scientology. It's like a microcosm of bigger issues.
It really highlights the power dynamics at play.
Big time. These comments, they paint a picture of a community that's worried about being treated fairly and having the city actually enforce its own rules. And, there's some specific individuals who keep showing up, who keep speaking out. They're the ones driving this whole conversation.
The voices of the people.
The people. Okay, so first up, we have Audit LA.
Okay.
And according to the transcripts, that's Amy, also known as Jill.
Yeah.
This woman is persistent. She comments on a ton of different things, but those darn planters, they are definitely a recurring theme for her.
A thorn in her side, it seems.
Totally.
Yeah.
And she really zeroes in on those ADA violations, the blocked emergency access routes, and just this feeling that the city doesn't actually want to do anything about it.
A sense of frustration with the lack of action.
Big time. And she flat out accused the city of being influenced by Scientology. Like that's the only reason these planters haven't been dealt with. She's also super frustrated with the whole permit situation, all the red tape or lack thereof, it seems, depending on who you are.
Right. Like there's a different set of rules for some.
Exactly. And it's not just some abstract thing for her either. She actually shared a story about almost falling into one of those planters herself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's not just about regulations on paper for her. It's a real danger, especially for people who can't see well or have trouble walking.
A real life consequence.
For real. And her demands are pretty simple, actually. Get rid of the planters and make the city enforce its own laws. She's also concerned about the city ignoring community impact statements, those things that are supposed to reflect what the people in the neighborhood think about development projects.
Right, the voice of the community.
Yeah. And she feels like those statements are just being tossed aside.
Dismissed.
Totally.
Yeah.
And Amy, she's not just focused on the planters. She's also raising bigger questions about the Church of Scientology's influence on the city. Like, how much power do they have when it comes to city decisions and big development projects? She even accused BDSS, which, by the way, is the Bureau of Street Services, of being in cahoots with Scientology.
Wow. That's a big accusation.
It is. It's basically saying there's some shady stuff going down, maybe even corruption.
Yeah, it suggests a lack of trust in the system.
Huge lack of trust.
Oh.
Okay, moving on to another frequent commenter, Gigi, aka Ganja Girl, or sometimes just Gug in the transcripts. Just like Amy, those planters are like a personal vendetta for her.
She's definitely passionate about it.
You can say that again. And she's especially frustrated that nothing seems to be happening. Like they've been complaining about these planters for months and they're still there.
Like they're being ignored.
Totally. And she keeps hammering on the ADA noncompliance. It's like a core issue for her, even if we forget about the whole Scientology thing. For Gigi, it's about basic human decency and accessibility.
Right, everyone deserves equal access.
Exactly. And Gigi, she does not mince words. Some of her comments are, let's just say, very colorful.
She's definitely not holding back her feelings.
Nope. She's letting them know exactly how she feels. And here's an interesting tidbit. She actually mentioned that the city supposedly already told Scientology to move those planters. So if that's true, why are they still there? What's the holdup?
That's a good question. What's the reason for the delay?
Right. It's like they're playing a game of chicken with the city. And get this, Gigi connects this whole planter fight to something much bigger. She's talking about fighting against human trafficking within the Church of Scientology.
Wow, that's a whole other level.
Right. She even mentions LFM and Surge in this context.
Yeah.
So it seems like her activism against the planters is tied to some deeper, more serious concerns about the church and its practices.
It's not just about aesthetics for her.
Not at all. It's about something much bigger. All right, next up we have Mona, another familiar voice in this public comment chorus. And just like Amy and Gigi, she is laser focused on those planters as ADA violations and also as obstacles to their First Amendment right to protest.
A double whammy.
You got it. And Mona's very good at pointing out that there's no permit information for these planters anywhere on the city's website. Like, where's the transparency?
It does raise questions about why the information isn't readily available.
Right. If everything's above board, why hide it? And Mona really believes these planters are a tactic to distract from what she sees as serious problems happening within the church. She specifically mentions the auditing ethics and the child abuse thing again. And just like Gigi, she's not afraid to call them the cult of Scientology.
She's definitely not holding back.
Not one bit. And she connects the planters to the road closures on L. Ron Hubbard Way, saying that both of these things are creating safety hazards, especially if there's a big emergency like an earthquake.
Right. Blocking access for emergency vehicles.
Exactly. Now, we also heard from Yvonne, and she brings some different concerns to the table. She goes beyond just the planters and starts talking about other city projects and permits, which is interesting because it shows the frustration goes beyond just this one issue.
It's a broader dissatisfaction with city processes.
Totally. She specifically questions why L. Ron Hubbard Way is still closed off to traffic, like who authorized that and why. And she ties both the street closures and the planter problem to the community's rights and the ADA.
She's looking at the bigger picture.
Definitely. And she also brought up some really good points about how the city manages its projects. Like she's questioning the efficiency of doing things in phases because that might actually cost more in the long run.
Makes sense.
Right. And she wants more transparency about who the contractors are and what exactly is in those permits. Basically, she wants the city to be more accountable and open about how it does business. She even asks, what exactly counts as a major street update? Like she wants them to define their terms.
It's all about clarity and accountability.
Yep.
Mhm.
Now, we can't forget Miriam, also known as Misham or Muriel in the transcripts. She only had a quick comment, but it was important. She basically called out the Public Works Commission and said they need to be more upfront about any changes they're making to the permitting process.
And she wants them to make sure everything is being done by the book, especially when it comes to the Church of Scientology.
Right, like no special treatment. Yeah. Then we had Lara, and her comment was really powerful because it was so personal. She shared that she grew up in the Church of Scientology, and she talked about witnessing what she called slave labor and child abuse.
That's heavy stuff.
Super heavy.
Mm.
And it adds a whole other dimension to this whole thing because it's a firsthand account of the kind of things people are accusing the church of doing.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that this isn't just some abstract political debate. We're talking about real people and potentially really harmful practices.
It's a sobering reminder.
Totally. Okay. Last but not least, we have Nora. And her comment is like a warning to the city. She says that if they don't fix the emergency lane situation on L. Ron Hubbard Way, especially with all the road closures, they could get sued.
Oh, wow. So there could be legal ramifications.
Yep. It's like she's saying, get your act together, city, or you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
So there you have it. A whole group of concerned citizens, all focused on different but related issues, all stemming from this interesting situation down in Hollywood. And a lot of the attention on this is thanks to Audit LA.
Right. They're shining a light on these public comments.
Shining a big bright light. The Audit LA YouTube channel is basically documenting and sharing these meetings for everyone to see. It creates a public record of what's being said, which is super important for transparency.
It's holding the city accountable.
Exactly. And the caller under Audit LA, Amy, she's a regular fixture there. And she often echoes the concerns about the planters, the road closures, and just the general feeling that Scientology has way too much influence in the area.
They're definitely making their voices heard.
For sure. And the fact that this channel exists, it lets people like you, dear listener, see and hear these conversations directly. It gives people the power to be more informed and hold their elected officials accountable.
It's citizen journalism in action.
It is. Okay, zooming out a little bit. It's clear that there's a lot more going on here than just those planters. Those are just like the tip of the iceberg.
It's a symptom of deeper issues.
Totally. We keep seeing this theme of lack of transparency in the city's permitting process. People feel like they're being kept in the dark, and that's never good.
It breeds distrust.
100%. And the whole idea of corruption and shady dealings in city contracts keeps coming up too. It's like people don't believe that things are being done fairly and honestly at City Hall.
That's a serious concern.
It is. And then there's the criticism of the Public Works Commission itself. People are accusing them of ignoring the public, of trying to silence people by pushing public comments to the end of meetings and limiting how long people can speak.
Wow, that's pretty heavy-handed.
Right. It makes you think, do they even care what people have to say?
Yeah.
And some people are even questioning the qualifications of the board members. Like, do they even know what they're doing?
A lack of confidence in leadership.
Major lack of confidence. And the ADA compliance issue seems to be a problem all over the city, not just on L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's like they're not prioritizing accessibility at all.
It's a systemic issue.
It is. Oh, and one commenter even mentioned that a court somewhere actually called Scientology's behavior gang-like.
Whoa, That's a strong statement.
Right. It shows how strongly some people feel about the organization.
It's definitely a polarizing issue.
Big time. And there were concerns about unpermitted construction happening, potential safety hazards. Someone even mentioned underground tunnels.
Underground tunnels, that's a new one.
I know, right? It's like
Yeah.
a whole other layer of weirdness.
Yeah.
And the recent changes to the rules for public comment, well, those have become a big point of contention. People are accusing the city of implementing them improperly, like before they got approval from the mayor. It's like even the rules for speaking up are controversial.
It's even a mess.
A total mess. And they're going after the city attorney too, saying that he didn't give the commission good advice and that they might have even violated the Brown Act, which is the law that makes sure government meetings are open and transparent.
Right. Open government for the people.
Exactly. And some people are comparing the Public Works Commission to the Fire Commission,
Mm.
which apparently has a much better reputation for being responsive to the public. It's like they're saying, why can't you be more like them?
It's a comparison that highlights the perceived shortcomings.
Totally. And some people are so fed up that they're actually demanding the board members resign.
Wow, they've lost all faith.
And then there's the classic debate about where the city's money is going. Some people are saying they're spending too much on things like theater projects and not enough on basic infrastructure and making the city accessible to everyone. It's like, what are your priorities, city?
It's the age-old question of how to allocate resources.
Exactly. So to sum up this wild deep dive into the world of LA public comments, we've seen a lot of passionate people speaking out, mostly about these non-ADA compliant planters around the Church of Scientology on L. Ron Hubbard Way. It's like these planters have become a symbol of everything that's wrong with the city.
A lightning rod for frustration.
Totally. We listen to the voices of Amy, Gigi, Mona, Yvonne, Laura, and Nora, each with their own unique perspective, but all united in their frustration with the city and what they see as favoritism towards Scientology.
A collective voice of dissent.
Absolutely. And it goes way beyond just some landscaping. This whole thing has brought up concerns about transparency, possible corruption, the effectiveness of the Public Works Commission, and just basic questions about accountability and whether the city is actually listening to its people.
It's a microcosm of larger issues.
It really is. And the Audit LA channel. They're doing important work by showing us this whole unfiltered conversation. They're giving us a peek behind the curtain and letting us see how the sausage gets made.
And they're empowering people to engage with their local government.
Right on. So, dude, that was a lot, right? It makes you wonder what else is happening that we don't know about. Maybe next time you're, chilling, you'll think about this whole thing and how important it is to speak up, even if it's just to complain about some badly placed plans. So, what do you think? What does this whole planter saga tell you about who has power in the city and how regular people can actually make a difference, especially when they're up against powerful organizations?
It's a question worth pondering.
For real. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep those minds open and those questions coming.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
I like how at the end they said stay curious. And then the Scientology thing is like, are you curious? That was a weird thing. But yeah, I gotta go and work. Gotta go pay some bills. Again, shout out to Audit. I know you guys are already subbed to her, but I wouldn't be able to make these if she wasn't making the videos and if she wasn't there. And I wouldn't be speaking if it weren't for her. She inspired me to use my voice. Yeah, so I'm thinking I'm gonna just go live randomly, maybe tonight after I work a little bit. And I'm gonna just continue to do these. I'm gonna just randomly do them. Don't feel pressured to, have to stop by all my lives, but I'm gonna be live streaming a lot of these, a lot of hours, in my free time. And yeah, if I ain't trying to like beg for donations, but there is a Venmo in my description if you wanted to donate. Then I could really devote even more time to live streaming. But yeah, I'm trying to get my computer set up, or trying to get a computer. I should have that in a couple of weeks, so that's good. But my next thing, I need to get back to LA. So I don't know. I gotta focus on that. So if you're super rich and you want to fly me out to LA, go for it. Venmo's in the description. But seriously, like I don't ever want, anyone that's struggling to, send me something and struggle even more. Just if you can, go ahead and send a Venmo. If not, make sure you give a like, help out with the algorithm, sort of help me out if you can, spread my name out there, share this with people. And yeah, like right now it's like 5 o'clock my time. Maybe in about 5 hours, depending on what's going on and who's live, I might do another live stream and just, I don't know, go crazy with this. Try to do different creative things with this. I have a few things in mind, so I'm gonna think about it more while I'm working, and I'll catch y'all later.